Well, let's get it. 580 Sports Talk, live and direct on a Monday. Back from the weekend with 3 hours of sports talk on the sports voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on our Facebook page, WIBW News. However you're joining the program on this Monday afternoon, we appreciate you being along for the ride. I'm Dan Lucero. Brendan Dworzinski is here. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a little bit. 3 hours of sports talk today. No Royals baseball tonight. Off day for the boys in blue before they open a 6-game homestand against the New York Yankees tomorrow evening. Royals are coming off a win yesterday. That's good. Coming off a 500 road trip. That's fine. You take those. Coming off a series loss to the White Sox.
Boo.
That's not what you want. We'll go through the weekend that was for the Royals. Still feels like there's a little more good than bad happening right now, particularly when it comes to the lineup. Jac Caglianone is hitting the bejeezus out of baseballs. Vinny Pasquantino's been one of the best hitters in the game for the last month. And a team that has struggled for power is all of a sudden starting to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Those April doubles turning into June long balls for the Royals, at least on the most recent road trip, a trend that this team sorely needs to continue. That's all good. They lost a series to the White Sox. That's not great. And it lends to a larger feeling, looking at the standings, seeing the Royals 34-32 and at the back of what I would call the wild card pack in the American League. That might be a little bit disrespectful to Boston, who's 4.5 games out, but anybody behind Boston, and the Angels are even with Boston, but let's be real about who the Angels are, kind of feels like that's the back end right now of the playoff chasing pack in the American League. And there are 96 games, of course, for things to change. But you're not alone if you're frustrated by watching this Royals team over the first 66 games and feeling like they're kind of treading water. There's a really easy explanation for why, and I hope there is comfort in the explanation because I do think better baseball is ahead for the Royals.
I also wanted to add, too, in talking about the Red Sox being kind of the dividing line there, like that's
Yes.
The playoff line right now. They are in a very similar boat to the Royals. If that makes you feel any better, worse, and different, whatever it might be, they're calling up their top prospect,
That's right.
Roman Anthony, who, by the way, if you are like the most pro player, like, you know, pro player, pro owner, like, oh no, the teams in the league got it right, the players get it right, whatever. If you're a pro player, you should be like holding a protest right now of the Boston Red Sox not having Roman Anthony up on opening day. Like, I haven't seen service time manipulation this bad maybe since the Cubs brought up Chris Bryant in 2015. Like, this was egregious. But they're bringing him up. Very similar reason to the Royals. Like, we need somebody to go make an impact right now. We have a guy who hits the ball really hard. We're going to bring that guy up right now. So I thought that was an interesting note that, and Anthony, I believe, is the number one prospect in all of baseball, if I'm not mistaken. So kind of interesting that two teams right in that same part of the playoff hunt are both hitting the top prospect button at the same time.
Yeah, they've got that. He's the number one prospect in all of baseball.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Roman Anthony's number one at the very top of the chart. So, yeah, Boston pushing that button to try and salvage a season. They've lost a lot of guys to injury. They've dealt with that certainly more so than the Royals have. But yeah, it's a big stretch for them, and they're hopeful that some improvement can come internally, just as the Royals have been hopeful and largely, I think, correct. The first 6 games of the Jac Caglianone experience been about as good a 6-game stretch as the Royals offense has had, even if Caglianone has not been a consistent contributor in the box score to that. Certainly was with a 4-hit day yesterday. But there are, and I understand, some larger frustrations with a team that is 34-32 today and sort of feels like they're running in place, treading water. Like, improvement has not happened for this team. And we'll go over the reasons why you're feeling that way And why, honestly, the fact that they're treading water is more positive than negative, given how their season has unfolded to date. The fact that they are 34-32, I think, can be spun as more positive than negative. And we will get there. Lots of Royals to talk about on today's program. We're going to talk plenty of ball on this Monday. Going to talk some football as well. Our guest today, Matt Verderam, bottom of the 3 o'clock hour. He joins us every Monday to talk NFL, and we'll get Matt's thoughts on a big NFL news weekend. You had, of course, the Friday news dump, Aaron Rodgers signing with the Steelers, some other moves happening across the league. We'll get Matt's perspective, get some Chiefs thoughts from Matt as well. Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated, SI.com. He's our NFL insider. He joins us every Monday on the show. We'll talk to him in about 25 minutes or so. And our countdown to kickoff for the Chiefs continues. Today is 88 days until the Chiefs open their 2025 regular season and their defense of their 3 consecutive AFC championships. And they have a new number 88 in town, and it's one that is making a lot of noise at OTAs.
With a name like Briningstool, as someone who hates pickles, do you kind of shudder when you hear brine this frequently?
Well, it's Briningstool.
It is okay. It is Briningstool.
It is Briningstool.
Okay.
Yes. It does look like.
Would it piss you off if I said Briningstool?
It does look like Briningstool, which sounds like the worst chop challenge of all time.
Ew. Gross.
Good. Glad we got that joke out of the way at 3:13 and can be done with it.
Aaron Sanchez will be disgusted.
So, it is Briningstool. And
no chance Scott Conant likes a single entry.
We'll talk about the Chiefs rookie tight end. They gave him a decent amount of money as an undrafted free agent. So get used to hearing the name, because it certainly sounds like this is a player that the Chiefs have some plans for, and what those plans might mean for what the tight end position looks like for the Chiefs beyond Travis Kelce. And spoiler alert, if today is 88 days until Chiefs kickoff, tomorrow's 87 days. And you don't need me to tell you who wears number 87 for the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll talk a little bit more about him on tomorrow's program. Anyhow, so we got some football that we will get to on the show today, plus the things you've come to know and love from a Monday edition of the program. We'll have our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll do a round of what is wrong with you, start a new week. We got good, bad, ugly from the weekend that was coming up in a little bit as well. Plus, we want to hear from you. The text line is open, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube stream. Again, the name of the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. Go check it out. Subscribe to the channel if you have yet to do so. And when you're watching on YouTube, there is a chat feature in the web browser or on your mobile device. And if you're logged in, you can interact with your fellow listeners and your hosts throughout the program. So a good afternoon to Christopher, Mark H., Vance, Paul. We got a lot of regulars in so far. I want to see some of the rest of you jump in and interact in the chat today on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. Before we get to the Royals, a quick reminder that you can still win 2 tickets to any Major League sports game by entering the Pick Your Ticket contest at our website.
Hey, well, that's very exciting. We have a new program that has started on 580 WIBW as of today. Here's an unfortunate thing. I did not touch anything.
Yeah, that they're very insistent on letting us know about their existence. That was wild. Anyway, the Pick Your Ticket contest ongoing at 580WIBW.com. Enter for your chance to win your dream sports experience. You choose the game. We fly you and a guest, the VIP experience within the continental United States, give you airfare and 2 tickets to the sporting event of your choice at the venue of your choice. Go to 580WIBW.com and enter to win the Pick Your Ticket contest. And listen to the streaming audio at 580WIBW.com. Stream WIBW's audio. When you turn on the stream, there'll be a bonus keyword every day that gives you more chances to win. The contest goes through Friday. Again, at 580 WIBW.
Give me a week of the Chiefs season. Just any week. 1 through 18.
7.
Week 7, the Chiefs are going to, and now my computer froze on me. Week 7. Oh, the Raiders Well, that game is at home, but you could get a ticket to go see the Raiders in town. What?
Yeah.
Nothing beats Raider Week. Come on.
Yeah, you got to love Raider Week.
Flip side, coming up in it's week 18. They go to Vegas right after Christmas. Maybe you just got, your aunt gave you some cash for Christmas. You want to go do something fun with a buddy? You head out, you watch the Chiefs, and you go play some electronic roulette at the Bellagio. Boom.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a great plan.
580WIBW.com, the Pick Your Ticket contest. All right, the Royals, winners yesterday, 7-5. That got a lot closer than it needed to. Credit to the Royals. It was really neat that they let an elderly gentleman try and get the final 3 outs of the game. Trevor Richards, with the silverest hair in Major League Baseball. I had no idea he looked like a coach. I've heard the name Trevor Richards. I'm aware that he's a journeyman reliever. He's been around for a long time. I did not know that he was not a Just for Men client. I did not know that he was embracing the silver in his hair. And what he should have embraced was the strike zone. He couldn't do that and turned what should have been a comfortable 9th inning into a harrowing 9th inning as the rain began to fall at right field. Carlos Estevez able to strike out Tim Elko with the tying and winning runs on base. The bases were loaded with 2 outs in the 9th inning after 3 runs had already come in. But the Royals hang on. They win the game 7-5, and they salvage one from a White Sox team that, as you might have guessed, based upon their 22-44 record, haven't won a whole lot of series this season. They have a series win against Boston. They have a series win against Houston. They have a series win against Miami. They have one against the Reds. They have one against the Rangers. They split a 4-game series with the Tigers right before playing this series against the Royals. So they came in playing some credible baseball at the very least. But then they take 2 out of 3 from the Royals. And we'll start with the good stuff because yesterday felt like a 2024 throwback in a good way. 2024, all season long, we had the mantra on this show that the starter goes deep and the big dogs eat. And that's how the Royals win. The Royals get length from their starting pitcher, 6+ innings, and their best hitters contribute in a big way to the winning effort on offense. Last year, it was all the Royals had, was just the big dogs. They had Vinny, and they had Salvi, and they had Bobby Witt Jr., and those guys all had to be the drivers of the offense if the Royals were going to win a game. This year, Salvador Perez has taken a step back, but Maikel Garcia has taken a step forward. But the top 6 in the order for the Royals yesterday combined for 14 hits in 28 at-bats. Brendan, I'm no math major. Can you help me with that? What's 14 for 28 at the plate?
500, 50%.
The top 6 in the order batted 500 for the day. That dog will hunt. That is what it looks like when the big dogs eat. Jonathan India, 3 hits, 2 runs driven in. Bobby Witt Jr., 2 for 5 with what ended up being a very important home run in the top of the 9th inning. Maikel Garcia, a couple hits and a ribby. Vinny Pasquantino, 2 more hits as he continues to be one of the hottest hitters in baseball over the last month. Salvador Perez finally leaves the building again, his 5th of the year, a 2-run home run that tied the game in the 4th. And Jac Caglianone, his first multi-hit game, his first 3-hit game, and his first 4-hit game. He just hits the dickens out of the baseball. His 8th inning single, 113.9 miles per hour off the bat. That puts him right there, max exit velocity on the season, in the top 8% of Major League Baseball. There are only but a handful of guys, I say that to say, there are only but a handful of guys who have hit a baseball harder than that all year across Major League Baseball. And for a change, those hard hit balls didn't get caught by anybody.
Yeah, and that's what we talk about so often, why exit velocity is important. And it's not everything, but more often than not, if you hit the ball that hard, it is going to land for a hit. It's either going to be hit hard enough that it flies really far and it's a home run, or, if you hit it on the ground or you hit a line drive, it's hard to go catch a ball or go field a ball that is being hit with smoke trailing off of it right off the bat. That's why that is important. And I know that's, sometimes, not everybody, but sometimes the old heads is, oh, who cares about that? It's about if you get on base, who cares how hard you hit it? Well, it actually matters quite a bit because that's, an indication of the likelihood that the ball lands for a hit zone.
And it's the quality of your contact. Like, you don't hit the ball hard if you're making contact off the end of the bat or off the handle. When you hit the ball hard, you're squaring it up. And you're selecting good pitches to hit, which gives you a chance to get the fat part of the bat, and you're swinging hard. Jac Caglianone doesn't have enough at bats to qualify for any of the percentiles in if you go to Baseball Savant and see where guys stand across the league. But I'll tell you this: if he did qualify, looks like his bat speed's in the top 5% of baseball. His expected batting average is in the top 1% of baseball. He hits the you-know-what out of the baseball. And as long as he continues to do that, good results are ultimately going to follow. His average may only be 240, but it's only going to go up if he continues to make that kind of quality contact. So it was a really good day for the offense. And then the other part of that equation, the starter goes deep. Michael Lorenzen shaking off what had been a really difficult run of starts for him, delivering 6 innings of one-run ball or one-hit ball. The one hit did produce 2 runs. It was a 2-run home run in the first inning. But he settled down from there, didn't allow another hit the rest of the game, walked just 2, struck out 7. A much-needed performance from Lorenzen. And if this is the role he's going to be in as a spot starter, it's nice to have this kind of a ceiling from your 6th guy. It's a good situation to be in if the Royals can feel like we are capable of getting this out of Michael Lorenzen, who really, this was just about every start he had through April, really through about early May, before his last 4 or 5 starts had really sent him down a bad stretch. But he righted the ship, and he was not a great White Sox lineup, but he was really, really good yesterday. And he gave the Royals depth on a day when they really needed it, because they had to tax their bullpen all week with the doubleheader, with some of the short starts. They needed a 6-inning start for Michael Lorenzen, and they needed one that was good on a day where they had to avoid getting swept. And credit to Lorenzen, who, again, been in a really rough stretch. He delivered in a big way for them.
Yeah, you lose that game. It's funny, in the scope of a 162-game season, your one game means so little. I mean, you're talking about not even 1% of the year, something like 0.6% of the whole season, something crazy like that. But you lose that one game, which in a vacuum isn't even 1% of the year, but you lose that one game and you get swept by the White Sox. Everybody feels different about this team, except maybe the most calm, level-headed Royals fan, which isn't all that fun anyway. It's not fun to be a level-headed fan. But you take 1 of 3, you don't feel good about it, obviously, but at least, all right, we got 1, end the road trip at 500. We saw some positives, saw the offense take off. Okay, those things are positive. You get swept, it feels like, oh, okay, so we're sellers. Right? I'm sure you saw some of that on social media. I know I did. I saw I
got some of it straight and direct to my phone.
Yeah, I saw plenty of, if you get swept by the White Sox in June, you are a seller. And for what it's worth, I don't really believe that necessarily. No, everybody has a bad stretch.
I don't think you can take one series and say this is how we're going to move forward like this based on 3 baseball games.
But I do get where it comes from.
Yeah.
The White Sox are bad. And they don't have talent. Like, that's like a lot of bad teams. Some teams are bad because they're huge disappointments for one reason or another. The pitching for Arizona has fallen off a cliff, and they're still not too far away from 500. The Orioles, the Braves, I don't think those teams are devoid of talent by any means. The White Sox, the Rockies, the Marlins, those teams stink. Like, those look like bad minor league teams in terms of the guys they actually have. So you lose a series like that and you feel bad. You get swept. I understand why it feels like the sky is falling. Even getting 1 will do wonders for at least a couple days for this fan base. The downside is the Yankees are really good. They are not perfect by any means. They're really good.
Yeah, we'll get to looking ahead, because there are some big series on deck between now and the All-Star break for the Royals, starting with the visit from the Yankees that begins a 3-game series at Kauffman Stadium starting tomorrow night. But yeah, you get 1 in the series, and you can leave 1 on a happy flight because you won the getaway day game after a long road trip. 2 salvages a 500 road trip, which you never take for granted. Playing 500 baseball on the road over the grand scheme of a 162-game season, that gives you a really good chance to play October baseball if you can play 500 ball on the road. And the Royals played 500 ball on the road this last week. You don't apologize for a 500 road trip. But, man, that was Royals cast-off Dan Altavilla recording an easy-peasy save when the 4-1 White Sox win in the ninth. It's a lineup of guys who, when the year began, were not in the major leagues. Guys like Edgar Cuero and Kyle Teal and Tim Elko and Chase Mydroth. The established big league guys on the roster are Lewis Robert, who's hitting $180, and Andrew Benintendi, who I guess is having a fine year. Slugging 435. I mean, he's not having a terrible season, but it's not really an established big league team. And you would have expected for the Royals part to win this series. And it was a very winnable series. I go back to Friday night. Friday night will be the one, you put a pin in a good win, like the Tuesday night win in St. Louis. You also put a pin in some bad losses. And Friday night's one to put a pin in as a bad loss. When you've got 2 on, nobody out in a 2-2 game in the 8th, and the order comes in for Michael Garcia to get a bunt down, first of all,
that's bad.
Michael Garcia has been your best hitter all season long. I would simply let my best hitter swing the bat. I would simply just do that instead of asking him to bunt. But that being said, Michael Garcia came up as the middle infielder. He knows how to get a bunt down. He's a big leaguer. He knows how to get a bunt down. It's a crappy bunt. He gets the lead hitter, India, thrown out at third. And Vinny Pasquantino grounds into a fielder's choice, and Salvador Perez pops out, and no runs score. And then in the bottom of the 8th inning, the Royals turn in what I can only describe as a White Sox homage defensively. I don't think they'll play a worse half inning. And if you want to throw the top of the 8th in with just bad situational baseball, they may not play a worse inning period all year than the 8th inning on Friday night in Chicago. And that took what looked like a very advantageous situation for them, a chance to take the lead in the 8th inning against a team that's not very good. All of a sudden, it's a 7-2 ball game going to the top of the 9th. This ball game over. So that's one you had to put a pin in a negative way, unfortunately. And it really, that's the one that kind of spoiled the weekend. But the Royals able to get one on Sunday. They do it with a familiar formula. The offense is in a much better place than it was a week ago. Did you realize this? I can't believe this stat is real, but it is. They had the Royals did, 4 multi-homer games as a team on the road trip. They'd had 3 games where they hit multiple home runs all year.
I can't believe it was 3.
Yeah. It was basically just that Orioles series, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Where they had all those home runs. But yeah, just the multiple home runs. 4 multi-home run games in the 6-game road trip. The power starting to come back. Hopefully the home run yesterday is a welcome sign for Salvi. Hopefully the 4-for-4 for Caglianone is a sign that his hard hit balls are going to drop in. There are good places to go from there, but also it's a series loss to the White Sox. And it's really hard to dress that up.
By the way, Dan Altavilla is kind of balling. He's the closer now for the White. He's finished 4 of the 5 games he's pitched in. He hasn't allowed a run.
Yeah, five clean innings for Royal great Dan Altavilla. Also a Padre and a Mariner in case you want to use him on an immaculate grid.
He's collecting crappy teams. Very impressive.
The good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was is next. Then we'll talk some football with Matt Berteram. We're just getting started on this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was. My good, managed to pull off a birthday party for my 1-year-old son. Lot of agonizing over how we were going to make it work, but we got it. We made it work. We had people out. We fed them. Asher had a great time. He got lots of great presents. He loves his Fisher-Price basketball hoop I put together for him. He's already throwing down some dunks. We got to work on the mid-range. He's also got to be able to stand like for a more consistent amount of time so I can teach him some proper shooting form. But hey, he's only one. We'll cut him some slack. We threw him a happy birthday party. He had a very good birthday. He's a great kid. That was my good for the weekend.
Yeah, my good was just sort of a generally positive weekend. We went out and we did some garage sale shopping and hopping on Saturday morning.
That was a good time.
Had a delightful meal at the Wheelbarrow. Oh, so good, always. Yesterday got the lawn mowed. Oh, man, it felt good. Baseball on the radio in my ears while mowing the lawn. Cubs lost. That wasn't so fun. But no, just kind of a nice, positive, not overly stressful weekend.
Love that. How about a good, Spencer Dupuis?
Yeah, so I'm going to shout out our hotline sponsor, Fleming Place Wine and Spirits. They do a bourbon allocation lottery every few months, and I've been going since like last March, I think, and I've always been like in the latter half of people. Saturday, I got pick number 1 and got myself a bottle of Blanton's bourbon that I've been wanting. They distill out of Buffalo Trace, and it is still undrinking yet. Don't know when I'm going to drink it, but
Special occasion,
rare. They had 1 bottle there, and I got the 1 bottle.
My bad is appears that my son is teething. We got to take him on an airplane tomorrow.
Oh, dear.
Pray for your boy. And everybody else on our flights. You got a bad?
Yeah, Spencer's DC Defenders in the XFL Conference Championship game of the UFL playoffs yesterday absolutely smoked my beloved St. Louis Battlehawks. It was not close for a single second of that game. I thought it would at least be entertaining. It was not.
It was close for the first quarter.
That was not very fun for you, boy.
Bad, Spencer.
Yes, it's bad and ugly. It's combined together. I have horrible timing. I texted you guys in a group chat with our former intern Trenton Craxter, and I said, there it is. Royals not going to need a save opportunity because it seems like they can never win the easy games. And then like 10 minutes later, it was a save opportunity.
Yeah, 2 batters later, It was a save opportunity. Yeah, and I knew that was coming as soon as you pressed send on that text. Not because you in particular are a jinx, but because you don't jinx.
But the Royals can't win a game easy.
So my ugly is the 8th inning on Friday night for the Royals. That was gross.
My ugly is Sovereignty, which won the Belmont Stakes this weekend. You coward horse. Run the damn Preakness. You won the Derby.
Crown, yeah.
You beat journalism twice. Take that for data. And you just skipped the one in the middle. Ridiculous. Cowardice.
All right. That's our good, bad, ugly. When we come back, Matt Verderam joins us from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. We're going to talk football. Big NFL news weekend. We'll chat about it with Matt next. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by our NFL insider, Matt Verderam, covers the league for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also appears on That Football Show on the KC Sports Network and has his own subscriber-only Patreon, the Matt Verderam Show. He joins us every Monday here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, our long national nightmare is over. Aaron Rodgers has signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now that all the talking and the speculating is done, what do you make of the fit? How does Aaron Rodgers, what he is now, what you project him to be as a 41-year-old starting quarterback off of an Achilles tear 2 years ago, what is the fit for him in the Pittsburgh offense with the Pittsburgh personnel?
Well, I mean, look, he makes them better. He's better than anybody they had in the room by a pretty wide margin. So he makes them better in the division that already has a really good team in Baltimore, a good team in Cincinnati. I mean, they certainly now are interesting. Are they better than the Ravens? No, I don't think they are. Are they competitive enough they could win 10, 11 games? Yeah, maybe. If things break right. Look, I mean, Rodgers has a real defense in Pittsburgh, but he's only got one real weapon on offense. The offensive line is okay. It's not bad. It's getting better because there's some young guys who are improving. But that situation sounds a lot like the Jets. The difference is he has Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh and that culture. And that's where I think that will kind of take him home. Look, I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender. I don't see any world that they're going to Buffalo in the second round of the playoffs and winning that game, or Kansas City or something like that. But I think they're good. I think they're a good team. And I think he'll have a little bit of a renaissance here in his final act.
Arthur Smith is their offensive coordinator, likes to do a lot of play action stuff, likes to throw between the numbers. Now, they made it shake with Russell Wilson last year, who was never a big throw between the numbers, between the hash marks kind of quarterback. They're going to have to make it shake with Rodgers again, who's never been super fond of doing that. But just in terms of what the passing game expects to look like and the personnel they have at the pass catcher spots, how does that all fit with what Rodgers does it, and who's going to have to bend? Is it going to be Arthur Smith, or is it going to have to be Aaron Rodgers maybe making some things fit at his station as a declining quarterback?
I think it's going to be more on Smith in a sense. Look, Rodgers is not going to go in there and change. That I don't think is going to happen. Like, they're going to go in and they're going to say, all right, we're not going to run nearly as much motion. We're going to get him under center. I think there's going to be a marriage to some degree of the two styles. But, Rodgers is a guy that he prefers to be in the gun. Smith prefers to, look, every offense now you're more in the gun than not, but I would like to have him under center a little bit more. I could see that maybe being a compromise where he's under center a bit more, but he doesn't like motion. Rodgers likes to see the whole picture, doesn't like to see it change very much. Arthur Smith is somebody who, again, you prefer you be under the center. He'd prefer you have motion in the offense. So I think they're going to have to mix and match a little bit. But my guess is you're going to see more of what Rodgers wants, because Rodgers is a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, and Arthur Smith is not going to Canton without a ticket. So, I think in the end, Rodgers is probably going to win out. But if you're Smith, you can't completely chuck your offense, because how long is Rodgers going to be here? So that's the dance. You've got to kind of find a happy marriage there.
We're joined by Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. You can check out his phenomenal work covering the NFL at SI.com and in Sports Illustrated. Also, the Matt Verderam Show on Patreon and That Football Show at the KC Sports Network. While we're talking about quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins is still under contract with the Atlanta Falcons and still owed a whole bunch of money. However, he is not going to be the starter this year. That's Michael Penix's job. Cousins reportedly wants to go somewhere where he's going to start, or at least have a chance to start. Is that team out there right now that Pittsburgh is off the board?
It's a tough argument. I mean, look, could he go to Cleveland? Yeah. I think pretty obviously he'd start there. But if you're the Browns, you're going to give up a pick? Why? Why are you giving up a draft pick? What upside is there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, at this point, you're going to be awful. You might as well be awful. The Saints, yeah, he'd be like, again, if you're the Saints, like, why? What benefit is there? Like, you're going to be atrocious. You might as well win 2 games instead of 5. Like, I think if you're Cousins, you've got to be looking for the team that's not good but that wants to be good. Like, no, I don't think this is going to happen because they already paid Daniel Jones. Like Indianapolis, a team like that you go, hey, listen, if Cousins went there and he was good, they'd have a shot at. It would have to be a spot like that. I just don't know. I almost wonder at this point, your Cousins, are you better off waiting 5-6 weeks into the season and just, hey, somebody got hurt or somebody is completely ineffective? Like, let's say the Jets are 3-3, but Justin Fields is awful. Maybe that opens up a door. Like, I think you're almost better off waiting for that than you are trying to force your way to like the Cleveland. I don't know how that benefits you. You're getting paid either way. You might as well take the money and not get killed. Or if you're in Cleveland, that's probably what the end result's going to be.
A couple of high-profile releases today around the NFL. Let's start with Jair Alexander. Quite a saga this offseason. Packers probably going to get rid of him, maybe a trade. Then, they're trying to figure out if they can bring him back, and now he ends up getting released. He apparently did not like the newly restructured contract that was presented to him. Packers future, they didn't play with him much last year anyway. It is what it is. I'm more interested, Matt, in where you think Alexander's going to wind up. That dude can still play and play at a high level. He's 28 years old. He is as talented as any corner in the NFL, in my opinion. The problem is he has played fewer games since 2021 than Aaron Donald, who retired in 2023. Like, he just never is on the field. Who is going to take a chance on him at corner this offseason?
I think it's got to be a team that just says, listen, we're trying to win right now. And it's worth taking a shot. Like we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I thought that the Packers would figure out a way to keep him on a lower number as long as Alexander was amenable to it. Well, apparently he was. He's out the door. I'm not surprised the Packers didn't keep him at his full rate. That was never going to happen. I think the Rams are an interesting team. Listen, the Rams, LaFleur is close with McVay. Now, that may also be a reason he doesn't go there. Maybe LaFleur says, hey, look, you don't want to deal with this whole situation. Okay, fine. But McVay's certainly going to be informed. Let's put it that way. I look at a team like Baltimore that lost their Darius Washington for the year to an Achilles. They lost Brandon Stevens in the offseason to the Jets. The Ravens could absolutely sit there and go, listen, if we get 10 games out of them, if they're the right 10 games, that's great. That's enough. There was a report Buffalo tried to trade for Alexander and things fell through. Now that they have Hairston, I don't know that they'd go out and get him. It feels like at that point it's a little bit overkill. They could. But yeah, I think it's a team like that. I think it's a team that you look at and go, all right, they're good. Maybe they need a corner to get them over the hump. I think, the Lions, the Lions have their guys and they drafted Arnold and Rakestraw a year ago. My guess, I think Baltimore makes a lot of sense. The Rams make a lot of sense. A team that's contending, that needs that corner is the team that I think would make, a nice fit. Maybe the Chargers are a team. They lost Asante Samuel. They lost, Christian Fulton. Maybe they make some sense there. Those would be the types of teams I'd watch.
The Bengals released Jermaine Pratt, or if it's not official yet, they're going to release Jermaine Pratt today. I feel like I'm kind of in the minority, Matt. Like, I see Trey Hendrickson might not be there. Pratt is gone. Like, that defense sucked with those guys last year. So I can understand trying to, retool. Al Golden's going to bring his own flavor to the defense. I don't necessarily hate that in a vacuum. That being said, can they feel the defense? Like, arguably the two of the three best players they had are very likely or very possibly not going to be there anymore. What are they going to do to actually feel the defense? Are they just going to punt on it for a year?
Feels like it. It really does. I mean, look, Jermaine Pratt last year was not good. And at the same point, he was one of the three best defenders on that team. I mean, it was him, it was Trey Hendrickson, and Logan Wilson. Like, those are the three best defensive players on that team last year. So to cut him, again, he demanded a trade earlier this offseason. Obviously didn't get one. Now he's released. He can go sign anywhere else. If you're the Bengals, I mean, look, you're the 2002, 2003 Chiefs, where it is just going to be, we have to score 35 points a game to have a shot to win. I mean, it's just, I can't remember a team in recent memory, the last 10 years, let's say, that was this rancid defensively and this good offensively. I know people say, well, what about Mahomes' first year? Their team led the league in sacks. Like, they weren't good defensively, but they had something. I mean, you could sit there and at least, okay, they can do this. this Bengals team, I don't know what you look at. I mean, they can't do anything. They can't cover anybody. They can't play against the run. They have no pass rush outside of one guy who may not even be there. I mean, they are. I will be shocked if Cincinnati, if we end up at the end of the year and we say, yeah, their defense was average. I'd be floored. If they're better than 30th in the NFL this year, you should feel like it's a win. So yeah, I'm with you. Like the Pratt thing in itself, fine, whatever. But who's replacing him? I mean, that's the question. I have no idea the answer is.
A couple more questions for our NFL insider, Matt Verderam, who joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline every Monday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt of Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Matt, Nick Chubb is going to sign with the Houston Texans, former Browns running back. Obviously had a devastating knee injury in college and then another terrible knee injury as a member of the Browns. And last year looked understandably like a shell of his former self. Does he have more to offer that Texans offense in a supporting role for Joe Mixon?
Honestly, for his sake, I hope so. I hate to say it. I watched a decent amount of him last year. He looked done. I mean, he just looked like he could. I remember like watching Von Miller games last year, and there were certain games Von Miller still kind of had it. But then there were more games, and now you watch Von Miller try to get off the line of scrimmage, like he can't move. I mean, he just physically can't move anymore. And I felt like that watching Nick Chubb. There'd be a time or two where he'd go to hit the hole, and he's got a big gainer ahead of him, and he gained 3 yards because he just could not through the gap. There's no real downside. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we're hearing about him getting cut in camp. I think at this point it's wishful thinking, and hopefully for his sake he has a renaissance. But I think it's probably going to be a one and done in Houston. That might be it.
Last one for you, Matt. The Indianapolis Colts have announced the restructuring of their ownership in the wake of the passing of Jim Irsay, their longtime owner. His 3 daughters are going to share in some leadership duties, with Carly Irsay Gordon taking over as the principal owner of the franchise. Now, look, I grew up in Denver. I know what it looks like when an owner dies and there's no succession plan amongst the family. And the Broncos, a lot of where they got to after Pat Bolin's death is because there was no succession plan in place. How secure do you feel like the Colts' future is with this transition of team ownership? And do you think they might be able even to move in a direction where there were some questionable decisions being made there the last handful of years by ownership? Do you think they can move in a positive direction moving forward as the team stays in the Irsay family?
They might be able to. Listen, the Irsay family's held on to that team for a long time. They know football. They care about football. I think the big thing is always, when you have 2 owners, you have none. When you have you want one person making those decisions. As you mentioned, as a principal owner, they need to have that structure. Because I think if they can have that structure, then it can work. The problem is when you get into these, and you mentioned Denver's a perfect example. When you get into these spaces where 2, 3, 4 people are constantly trying to be the one who's got the biggest voice in the room, you got a big problem. Because that doesn't work in any walk of life. So, as long as the Colts, can kind of structure this in a way where one person takes the lead, then I think it can work. If it's a situation where the kids, and I do not know any of the kids personally, but if the kids are kind of fighting over the power that's now the void that's been left, that becomes very dangerous for any kind of an ownership group, certainly one as high profile as NFL team.
Matt Verderam covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also has his own subscriber-only Patreon, The Matt Verderam Show, and appears on 580 Sports Talk every Monday at this time. Matt, great to go around the league with you. We're not talking about the Chiefs much, but good, stable franchises kind of stay out of the news this time of year, so that's a good thing.
If you're the Chiefs, you are just hoping to avoid any phone calls at 3 a.m. And if you're not getting woken up in the middle of the night by a number you don't recognize, it's great news.
Matt, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds good. Take care.
That is Matt Verderam. We will take a break, come back, and wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. 580 Sports Talk after this. Our thanks to Matt Verderam joining us for a little NFL talk, because he does every Monday here on 580 Sports Talk. Dan, Brendan, Spencer with you. We got you till 6 today. No Royals baseball, but some Royals news breaking during the hour. Vinny P, Player of the Week. That's what the P stands for. Player of the Week in the American League. He has been awesome over the last month or so. I want to make sure I get the numbers right. Royals Review had him on social earlier today. In the last 30 days, Pasquantino's hitting .376 with a .432 on base and a .515 slug.
Pretty good.
Yeah, he has been
Darn good.
red hot. We're to the point now where, and he did get off to a slow start, and I did think his hitting approach was part of that reason. I thought he was maybe selling out for power a bit too much. Now he's back to more of an all-fields approach. The power's coming along with it. He's on pace for about 24, 25 home runs. And we're seeing a complete hitter. This is the best Vinny's looked since his rookie year, to me, just at the plate.
Yeah, I mean, even his full season numbers at this point, I mean, OPS plus well over the league average mark of 100, 333 on base, second best of his career after his rookie season when he only played 72 games. Best batting average of his career. Slug is still the lowest, but I mean, there's time to get that back up. And again, readjusting after kind of, missing the forest for the trees, trying to pull the ball for power a little bit more. That'll get there.
The next step is to become that 2-out runner in scoring position animal that he was last year that was going to get him to 100 RBI before September 1st.
We need to bring back sack fly Vinny. That's what we need. He's only got one this year after 13 last season. We need the sack flies back.
Vinny's rolling, but it feels like the Royals are treading water. We'll talk about why, plus what is wrong with you, and Jake Briningstool days until Chiefs kickoff in the next hour. 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. On the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com. And on video on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. On our Facebook page, WIBW News. Greg Akagi's in the background of the YouTube stream now. Let's wave at Greg. Hi,
What's
Greg.
up, Greg?
The legendary Greg Akagi. That's kind of fun stuff you can get if you're watching the show. Again, on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, or on Facebook, WIBW News. However you're consuming the program, we appreciate you being along for the ride on this Monday. Hope you all had a great weekend. Thanks for being here with us on 580 Sports Talk.
We obviously hear Greg on the 580 airwaves, all the time. But we'll hear him during sports programming less than 3 months from now till week 1 kickoff for high school football. I know our first few games are on 106.9, but with me.
Getting closer. September. Yeah. Yep. Starting to get schedules rolling in. It's really easy for football. They're all just the inverse of what they were last year.
Yeah, it's
pretty
nice.
much. And, there might have been a one-off game here and there that got scheduled late, but for the most part, yeah, it's the inverse of what we had. And it won't be long. We'll have our schedule announced. We'll let you know where we're going to be, what we'll be doing for another season of high school football on the sports voice of Kansas. Dan Lucero here with Brendan Dworzinski and Spencer Dupuis. We've got 2 more hours with you today. Again, no Royals baseball today. Royals are back in action tomorrow as they open a 3-game series against the New York Yankees. Broad TV audiences for all 3 games of this Royals-Yankees series. They are national TV tomorrow night, TBS. So if you have a cable provider that does not allow you to get it is FanDuel Sports Kansas City now. I almost called it Bally. If you do not have FanDuel Sports on your cable provider.
I mean, it's still Bally with the music.
I don't know where the music came from. I don't think that's Bally's music. I think that's, unless it was the guy like Jeff Bally composed the
Sinclair TV is his music.
Yeah, Diamond Sports Group, the Diamond Holdings or whatever it's called. And I think they changed the name after they almost
went
lost,
belly up.
Almost lost everything that they own. No, if you do not have FanDuel Sports Kansas City on your cable or satellite or whatever provider, but you have TBS, you can watch the Royals tomorrow night. Royals-Yankees, game 1 of that series is a national TV game.
And did you ever, at any point in your life, for either of you to go like when you were a kid or as an adult or whatever, go through a not having cable phase, or cable like some sort of TV provider?
So when I moved out here for the first year or so of living out here, I cut the cord.
Okay.
And I had like my dad's password for
Sure.
like they were on satellite TV. They had I believe it was Dish Network at the time. So I could watch ESPN programming that way. And I had bought an antenna, which I still have somewhere, where I could get the over-the-air stuff. And, just used, if there was a game I needed to watch, I used a login. And I managed that for about a year. And then I said, I kind of wish I could watch, like, just random stuff whenever I wanted to. And ended up, I got PlayStation View at the time. Man, I missed that service.
Oh, man, all right.
PlayStation
that
View
service
ruled,
was so
man.
good.
It was really, really good.
Can't say I ever had that.
It was really
That was
good.
awesome.
My senior year of college, I moved off access to, I can't remember the dang name. Is it Philo or Philo?
Philo, yeah.
We had Marshall at Philo for on-campus students because they phased out any kind of cable.
Sure.
So they just gave everybody that digital.
Right.
I moved off campus and I had like, the parents' password to watch a few things.
Yeah.
But no, if I wanted to watch live TV, I had to we didn't have live TV in the house I lived in.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to we had an antenna to watch the main channel.
Right.
But that was it. And then I may or may not have had
no need.
had an ability
I'm
to
picking
watch.
up what you're putting down.
I had an ability to watch things a certain way. We'll just keep it like that.
I'm picking it up.
We've all been there. We've all sailed the high seas.
I my family growing up, we always had cable. We always had some version of cable. I had it in the dorms. I had it, something like through my apartment complexes in college. I've always paid for a streaming service. We're trying to save a little cash this summer. So we're going to go the summer months without paying for cable, like mid-May to mid-August. When football ramps up, we're going to reactivate the YouTube TV.
My sister and brother-in-law actually do that.
Yeah. This was the first weekend where I was like, damn, you know what I wish I had? Cable.
Yeah, but you love your fast channels.
I use the free, over-the-top fast channels. In fact, you know what I've been watching a lot of? the WNBA because Ion streams for free.
Yeah.
So I was watching the freaking Wings and Sparks the other night.
Yeah, you get
Everyone was watching hockey. I was watching Shinya Agumake.
Yeah, that and the NWSL. You watch the Kansas City
Yes,
Current
they were also
on
on.
Ion there.
So
Anyhow,
that's been my streaming sports except for baseball.
we went really far afield here. The Royals play on TBS
All
tomorrow
that
night.
to say, now I can't even watch TBS.
Maybe somebody will sneak you a login. You can log in on Max.
I got a login. It's called tuning the radio to 580 a.m.
That's what's up.
There you go.
That's a company man right there. Wednesday night, the Royals game will be on MLB Network, although I don't believe that will be the case regionally. There will be that will not be a regionally available game if you have MLB Network, but you're within the sound of our voice, you'll probably get a different game. But there'll be a broad national audience that can watch Royals Yankees on Wednesday, and then Thursday the game will be on MLB Network as the MLB Network showcase game. Essentially two national telecasts of Royals baseball this week against the Yankees. Pretty cool.
I mean,
spotlight.
3 really.
Well, they're not really, because it's not a national broadcast because it's not nationally available. It's regionally available, but not to this region or I would imagine the greater Northeast.
Yeah, but it's available on.
But yes,
station.
you can watch it on. You can watch it on MLB Network if you aren't within the sound of our voice. Anyhow, we're going to talk about the Royals. We're going to get into some Chiefs. I inadvertently referred to number 88, Jake Briningstool, by the wrong name going into the commercial break. Called him Jared because the Chiefs drafted a tight end named Jared last year, Jared Wiley. Jake Briningstool is this year's rookie tight end, a UDFA out of Clemson. And if you put a lot of stock into OTAs, you shouldn't. But if you do, this is a future star. This is one to watch for the Chiefs. We'll talk about that. What kind of player the Chiefs have in the former Clemson Tiger and what it might reveal about what the tight end position looks like in a post-Travis Kelce world, which we are closer to than we are to the beginning, let's just say, of Travis Kelce's career, whether that's the end of this season or the end of a season to come. What tight end will look like for the Chiefs once Travis Kelce's no longer part of the mix. Plus, what is wrong with you coming up? We want to hear from you in the chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. You can interact with us and your fellow listeners if you're watching live on our YouTube stream. You can also text the program 785-272-9429. That's 785-272-9429. But I did want to start with the Royals. 34-32 going into this 6-game homestand coming up. 3 with the Yankees, 3 with the A's, who have been just the pits for the last month or so. They actually kind of got off to a little bit of a frisky start. Then they lost 20 out of 21 games. They have won 3 of their last 4, though. Baltimore was the get-right series for them, which tells you a lot about where the Orioles are this season. But 6-game homestand coming up. The Royals come in with a record of 34-32. They are 8.5 games back of Detroit in the Central. They are a game and a half back of a wild card spot. Right now, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, and Toronto. I miss Toronto getting hot. Tampa Bay's won, I think, 14 of 18. They've been the hottest team in the AL. Minnesota, of course, they had that big winning streak earlier and have continued to play good ball despite the fact that everyone is on the injured list. But all 3 of those teams, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, and Toronto, are 35-30. I would not expect, quick aside, the Rays have played like all their games at home because they don't want to play outdoor baseball in Tampa Bay during the summer months for what should be very obvious reasons.
Yep.
So they're going to play a lot of road games second half of the season. I expect the Rays will eventually come back to the pack. I still think the injuries are going to be too tough for Minnesota to overcome. Toronto, I don't know how to explain that one. I've been paying close enough attention to the Blue Jays to tell you whether or not that's real or not. Cleveland's at 34-30. Seattle is at 33-31 ahead of Kansas City by percentage points in the wild card standings as well. But certainly it is far from a sure thing that the Royals will return to October. Right now, Baseball Reference has their playoff odds at 28%. They were sitting as high as 77% at one point earlier this season. And it does feel, watching the Royals, like it has been a step forward and a step back. I think this road trip represented a step forward and a step back. You felt good about the offense. Jac Caglianone provided a spark and some excitement. And though he didn't light the world on fire in the box score, you could see his talent on display. You can see what he's going to bring to this lineup over the long haul, which is big, strong guy hits ball real hard, which is a nice thing for this lineup that didn't have a lot of guys doing that kind of thing to have. He felt good about that.
Mm-hmm.
He felt good about getting Seth Lugo and Cole Reagans back from the injured list. Obviously, that's going to be a long-term benefit. Still in all, it's a 500 road trip and a series loss to the White Sox, which makes it feel worse. Like, it feels worse than a 500 road trip typically would. If they had won the series against the White Sox and lost the series to the Cardinals, it might have felt different. But it's a 500 road trip, and it does sort of feel like the Royals, instead of making the leap forward that I think a lot of people hoped that they would, and that some of us expected that they could going into this season, instead they're just sort of spinning their wheels. They're just spinning their water and then treading their wheels. That's what they're doing. I'm mixing metaphors. They're just treading water. And it may just be as simple for the Royals as this. Their four most important players, Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, Cole Reagans, and Seth Lugo, have been worse than they were in 2024. And not dramatically. In the case of Bobby Witt Jr., he's on pace for an 8-win season when you look at wins above replacement. That's unbelievable. That's like MVP caliber. It's also a win off of his pace from last year. So it's just been a little bit less from Bobby Witt Jr. And we wondered, well, okay, it probably was always going to be a little bit less, because the season that Bobby Witt Jr. turned in last year was the best season by some measures that a Kansas City Royal has ever had. It was understandable if instead of being a 9-win player, that Bobby Witt Jr. might be a 6 or a 7-win player. He's been better than that. He's pacing better than that, but still not quite to the heights of 2024. So, okay, he took a little bit of a step back, but that's understandable. He's still an MVP caliber guy. This is not a knock on Bobby Witt Jr. It's just, hey, man, 2024 was unbelievable.
Yeah, so he's going from best season ever to not win MVP to just genuine bona fide MVP candidate.
Like top five player in baseball. Just a top 5 player in baseball, and not like a top 2 player of the decade, top 2 season of the decade. Anyway, so that's Bobby Witt Jr. Salvador Perez. This is where the difference between, there are 2 calculations for wins above replacement. I'll try to keep the explanation as simple as possible. Fangraphs.com has their wins above replacement calculation. Baseball Reference has their own calculation. Baseball Reference's wins above replacement is explanatory. It is what has happened. Fangraphs is more predictive. It's what should have happened and what we predict might happen based upon the information that we have. There's a bit more predictive data plugged into the Fangraphs wins above replacement instead of the Baseball Reference, which is just the bare bones. Hey, this is what has happened. So that explains the difference for Salvador Perez, who we have talked about all year, has hit into his fair share of bad luck. A lot of the batted ball metrics, hard hit balls, that kind of stuff, it all looks good for Salvador Perez, but his batting line does not. He has been, in fact, over the last month, one of the worst players in baseball at the plate. He has really, really struggled, even though the last 2 weeks, you take a smaller sample, it looks like he's starting to come on a little bit. Still in all, Salvador Perez was a 2.5-win player last year. And this year, if you ask Baseball Reference, which again is what has happened, he's in the Hunter Renfroe zone. Salvador Perez has been worth negative 1.2 wins to the Royals. Fangraphs is kinder because he's hitting the ball hard. So you would predict that he would be having more of a positive contribution to the team based on how hard he's hitting the ball and that. But he's still been below replacement this season, which Salvador Perez has never been a below replacement contributor to the Royals in his entire career. But this year, he has been that. And part of that, too, not just from the offensive perspective, the defense continues to slip for Perez. He appears to be more productive as a catcher offensively, but quality of defense is slipping, as you would expect for a 35-year-old who's caught as often as Salvador Perez has. So those are the two most important offensive players. The two most important pitchers, Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo. Well, first of all, they've both missed time. That didn't happen last year. They took every turn in the rotation last season, and they combined to be worth, and again, you have the difference between a predictive wins above replacement and an explanatory wins above replacement. Reagans and Lugo were worth between 9.5 and 10.5 wins last year, depending on which calculation you like. Split the difference and call them both 5-win pitchers last season. This year, they have combined to be roughly a 1.5-win pitcher so far. Cole Reagans, the predictive war really likes him because he strikes out a bunch of guys, but the ERA is high, so his baseball reference war is actually sub-replacement level. Lugo doesn't have the strikeouts. He's given up a few too many home runs. The predictive metrics don't like him, so he's lower in Fangraphs war than he is in baseball reference war. I don't mean to talk you in circles with the numbers, but just know that generally speaking, these are guys that were elite last year, top 4 finishers in the Cy Young voting, and so far this year, they've just been just guys. So those steps back, even the minute step back that we've gotten from Bobby Witt Jr., and it makes a lot of sense why this Royals team hasn't been able to make the jump forward, because the thought behind the projection that this could be an improved Royals team was they need Bobby to be Bobby and Salvi to be Salvi and Reagans and Lugo to be horses at the top of the rotation, and then some internal improvement. And then, a little more from Vinny and a little more from Michael Garcia. They've gotten a lot more from Michael Garcia, and a little more from somebody in an outfield corner, and a little more from the bullpen. And I think they've gotten more than a little more from the bullpen as well. That was the thought behind this team is going to improve. Well, they've gotten some of that marginal improvement. Michael Garcia is playing like an all-star. The bullpen, by and large, has been terrific. Chris Bubich has been the best pitcher in the American League, but the war horses, the big dogs on this baseball team have not been as good. And that sort of canceled out some of that marginal improvement elsewhere. And that's how you get to 34 and 32.
The underlying stuff, the predictive metrics, all of that are important because, again, it's the things that you're doing that more often than not lead to success on the field. The problem is that is not how the standings are built. The standings are built in wins and losses and actual production, and sometimes those things do not line up, and they do not line up for one reason or another. For a guy, even like Reagans, who's dealing with the injury and pitching numbers, especially early in the season, they can be noisy, to use a statistical term. I'm not super worried about him long term. A guy like Caglianone mashing the ball, I'm certainly optimistic about him long term. But you take a guy like Salvi, and the underlying stuff is good, but I think you do have to wonder a little bit more with a 35-year-old catcher. Why is there a disconnect? Why are the things that should lead to success not leading to success, at least regularly enough, now well over 2 months into the season? I do think that is something that the Royals will need to evaluate over time. And we discussed this, I don't know if it was last week or the week before. When he catches, his numbers as an offensive player are really tanking this year. When he DHs, he's actually been an above average offensive contributor, which it's a hard thing to deal with when you're talking about a franchise legend and your team captain who everybody respects, who also, for whatever, he lacks in terms of actual defensive skill behind the plate, we know he calls a good game. We know especially younger pitchers respond really well to him because he's been catching Cameron, right?
Yeah, I believe he has.
At least more often than not. Like, it's hard to tell that guy, hey, Salvi, you're a DH now. And I don't mean today. I mean, your job is designated hitter now. That is not an easy thing to do with a guy like that. So there's a little bit of ego stroking that goes into it. But if you're the Royals, you're in a position where you need to, again, continue to try to make these little on the fly to get to where you think you need to be. Even if the Royals are out of the playoff picture at the moment, I think they can very easily get to that point again here in the near future. But you've got to be willing to be flexible with those things, and your guys need to buy into the potential that they might not be in their favorite position as well. I have no reason to believe Salvi wouldn't say, hey, if it'll help the team, I'll be your full-time DH or whatever. But that's just an example of you need to find, rectify your inefficiencies, if I can kind of, make up my own phrase there. Like, all right, we've got things we need to figure out. We've got reason to believe this can turn around, that we're going to get more offensive production. How are we actually going to unlock it? That's just one example, but I think the Royals need to be open to that example and plenty of others if they want to get back to where they want to.
To follow up, Perez has caught 4 of Cameron's 5 starts in the bigs. For me, of course, catching the other one. Salvador Perez last 15 games look like a Salvador Perez season. The 274 average, a 318 on base, a 468 slug. Like that looks like a Salvador Perez batting line. And maybe that's a sign that, it is a cliche. Older players warm up with the weather. Obviously, we're doing selective endpoints here. We're only including one game of that San Francisco series where he hit a home run and not the 2 games before that where he went 0 for 8 for 3 strikeouts. But the Royals need a version of Salvador Perez who is productive. And if the best way to unlock his bat is to have him DH and be the secondary catcher, then that has to be the direction that the Royals go. Freddie Fermin has contributed close to a win of value as the Royals' second catcher, and he's not hitting the cover off the ball. He's got a 641 OPS. It's one of the lower ones on the team, but his defense provides the value. And I would rather have a valuable defensive catcher and a version of Salvador Perez at DH who's giving me the offense I'm looking for in the middle of the order than, we defer to Salvi and all his gold gloves and all his knowledge and all his experience, but we're not getting the best out of him. And then that leaves a better defensive catcher on the bench. And we're giving runs away. We're giving those kinds of things away when we can't really afford. There's not enough room for error on the margins to kowtow to Salvador Perez as a respected veteran. You got to tell him what's best for the team. And look, I have no reason to believe that Salvador Perez is, no, I catch 5 days out of 7, or I'm going to screw off to Puerto Rico like Yadier Molina did that one time. When Yadier Molina was like, I'm going to coach basketball for a couple of days if that's cool with everybody. It's awesome guy.
I forgot that happened.
Yeah, what a person. Real Hall of Fame guy out of here. Anyway, I do think that's a move that the Royals can certainly explore, but bigger picture, not just with Salvador Perez here. I think with Reagan's especially, you can say this. There is better baseball ahead for these guys. I do not think that Salvador Perez is going to OPS 622 the rest of the season. I don't. I think that we've seen the last couple of weeks the warmer weather helping a 35-year-old player bat get going. That is a tale as old as time. Things become cliches for a reason. I think we're going to get a little more out of Salvador Perez. And now that he's moved down in the order to 5th, maybe they move him down even to 6th if Caglianone really rolls and they can put Garcia clean up and split the lefties, or just not split the lefties. Just no need to split the lefties if you don't need to. But there's going to be more, I think, for Salvador Perez. Cole Reagans, once he's right, is going to resume being one of the best pitchers in the American League. There's nothing to suggest that that's not still in him, that last year was a fluke or whatever. They're going to give him a little more rest. I think that's valuable for him. I think that'll be valuable for Chris Bubik in the long run as well. I think that there is better to come for some of the most important guys on this team. And still in all, when you look at Salvador's struggle, Reagans and Lugo have been banged up and not pitched to their high standard. Still in all, this is the team right now sitting here today. They are on pace for 83. What did they win last year, 86? Not that far behind what they were last year because those improvements in other areas, the bullpen's improvement, Michael Garcia playing all-star caliber ball, some improved offense from guys like, and look, these are not average offensive contributors, but what Kyle Isbell and Drew Waters have given offensively, and Jonathan India has given offensively, even to this point, has been above what the Royals got from some of those positions during last year's season. Those improvements, coupled with what I think are still expected improvements from guys like Perez and Reagan, and then you add that to what Caglianone can bring over the rest of the season, I still think there's better baseball for the Royals to play. It's just frustrating to wait on it, especially when waiting on it includes losing a series to the White Sox.
Yeah, that's not a great way to feel like, oh, yeah, we're on the right track. That's more of an optic thing than anything. Like, damn, we'd feel a lot better if we hadn't just dropped a series to Andrew Vaughn, whoever that actually he's in minors right now.
Yeah,
but like
he was their second best hitter last year, I think, and he hit his way off the club this year. That's how things are going for the White Sox. We'll take a time out here in 580 Sports Talk. We're going to talk a little bit of Chiefs later in the hour, but first, it's our first round of What Is Wrong With You for the week on 580 WIBW. What is wrong with you on 580 Sports Talk, sponsored by State Farm agent Ryan Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. Give Mo a shout.
I was in the office today.
How's Mo doing?
I didn't get to see Mo. He was busy working the phone. He's got meetings.
Busy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. So I
slinging insurance.
Yeah, one of his staffers was there. Had something to pick up. Yeah, I was there.
Keep Mo busy. Give him a call, 785-273-1572.
Make our friend work more.
Yes, that is the idea. I am going to be off the rest of the week after today, so I've only get one What Is Wrong With You for the week. So I better make it count. We're going to Bakersfield, California, where 9 felony counts have been filed against a Kern County Sheriff's Detentions lieutenant who drove drunk and was involved in 2 crashes in 2 hours. Patrick McNeil was charged Wednesday with multiple counts of DUI causing injury, hit and run causing injury, and misdemeanor resisting arrest. Prosecutors say the charges include enhancements for having a high BAC and injuring more than one person. He crashed twice.
He crashed his car.
You got a fast car.
Oh, continue.
What was that? Robin Williams used to do the bit where when he sang "Fire" as Porky Pig.
Yeah.
That's what we're very close to that here. McNeil crashed twice within hours on March 16th. He was off duty at the time. First crash happened around noon. He was cited for driving under the influence. Officers had his car towed and took him home. And 2 hours later, he got into another hit and run.
Who among us?
Where he was identified as the driver who fled and was later found at Lerdo Jail, where he was arrested after a short standoff. Listen,
Jeez.
man, 2 DUIs within 2 hours of each other, and you're a cop.
You know, it's probably not something I would do. I would, I don't know, do anything else. In fact, people who have very high-profile public jobs, who do stuff that gets them in very high-profile trouble, I always just wonder, like, don't you have any sort of, like, fear of the repercussions? The answer is almost always no on this particular program.
No.
But still.
No, never have had fear of repercussion.
Wild.
Anyway, you have a story today.
Yes, I do. And if my computer would load for me, I would tell you all about it. We've got a DoorDash incident. We're going up to Vancouver, Washington, where a man was angered that he had not received a cash tip the night before on a $100 order. So the DoorDash driver returned to a home in Vancouver with a loaded gun.
Okay. All right. Have either of you guys ever... Have either of you guys ever like driven Uber, DoorDash, like delivered food delivery, anything like that?
I did for approximately like 6 weeks during COVID because I was bored and my roommate also did it.
Okay.
Need a little cash.
But I wasn't making very much money, so I quit.
So I did it. I worked on 2 separate occasions. There was a Jason's Deli nearby where I grew up, and I got a summer job working with them.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the gig was you would deliver sandwiches. A lot of times it was a big you get catering orders, sandwich trays, that kind of stuff. But if you were working the night shift or later in the afternoon, you get people just ordering a couple of sandwiches for the family or one for themselves. And I can tell you, I was in that situation where you deliver like somebody's Club Royale with a fruit cup and an iced tea, and you don't get a tip, or you get like change. Like, oh, it was $11.19. They hand you 12 and they say, keep the change. And that would be your tip. And look, it sucks.
Yeah.
Get under tip. Like one time I made a delivery to a hospital. It was a drug rep laying out lunch for a presentation. $300 worth of food. Guy tipped me $10. I wanted to spit in every one of those sandwiches. I was furious.
Love a good 3% tip.
But then, you know what? I drove back to the restaurant and I cooled down and I went on with my day. I just show up the next day with the blick and tell the guy, come up off my gratuity, pal.
So we're meeting 59-year-old Robert Delahant, who showed up last Thursday morning at the residence of 19-year-old Kiana Korenkov.
Man, 19-year-olds don't tip either.
And demanded the tip. Delahant was, quote, loud and mouthy. After Korenkov's father told Delahant to leave the property, the men got into an altercation, during which Delahant allegedly reached for a holstered Ruger firearm. Dude, why do you have, of all the guns you could have, why do you have a Ruger? Anthony Volino, 55, told cops that he grabbed Delahant's gun and pushed the driver down onto the driveway. Volino, quote, stated when he smelled liquor on Robert's breath, he thought anything could happen. Yeah, I'd say. Volino then, according to the police, said he feared for his safety when Delahant reached for the gun. After driving away from the residence in his Kia Soul, Delahant called police dispatch and advised the house cheated him out of a tip, so he returned and was pushed.
I'm the victim here.
Cops say that Delahant smelled of booze and admitted to drinking at home before returning to the residence. Quote, I shouldn't have come back, he told police. He also claimed that he had only lifted his shirt to show that he was indeed armed, not that he actually grabbed at the gun. A home security camera recorded the men wrestling over the firearm, and as seen in a photo from that footage, Volino is seen holding the gun after Delahant had been disarmed. Delahant was charged with assault, harassment, and driving under the influence. His BAC, folks, more than twice the legal limit. He also has a prior DUI conviction. DoorDash has fired him.
I bet they have. Yeah, he seemed like he kind of knew, all right, like, I'm wilding here. Like, I'm acting the fool. There's no reason I got to come back over. Okay, so if it's one person making a delivery, like, I try, like, general rule of thumb, and again, you have more, like, sympathy for this experience when you've done it yourself. When you've worked in food service, you have a bit more of an appreciation for what that tip means. So, like, generally speaking, 20% is the rule. I follow that religiously. And if it's under a situation where it would have been a $5 tip, I try to leave a couple of bucks, like $2-3, make it worth their while, worth the time, worth the travel, all those things. I think that's important. Kiana probably ordered like one sandwich or one burrito or one like bowl of pho. Like, I don't know. I don't care. Like, one thing probably cost about $15 with the upcharge, coming up on 20, with the driver fee, because the driver does get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, 19 years old. You're not thinking, you're not a little tight. Not going to tip. Man, just tough break. Driver gets their delivery fee. That's all I'm going to break off.
We had we never order delivery ever, but we had a gift card. So we were like, okay, sure, let's order DoorDash. And my wife puts the tip in, and the driver won't leave the door after he gave us the food. He's like, I was wondering if there was a mistake with the app. Usually I get tipped more than that, and I saw you only tipped X amount. And my wife was like,
awkward.
Yeah, maybe there was an issue. Okay, bye. And like, bro, come on. Like, it sucks, yes. But I mean, we tip generously as it is. But like, sometimes you don't get what you want. Sorry.
Yeah, and
doesn't mean you can bring a piece.
No, you got to leave the gun out of it. That guy wins today, I think.
I would agree. You can't bring a piece.
No tip, so he flipped. That's our that's our winner on What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by State Farm agent Ryan Mowinkle. Check out his website, ryanmowinkle.com. That's MOHWINKLE. See what Mo can do for you. We'll take a quick timeout, come back, talk a little Chiefs on the other side on 580 Sports Talk. .445 on 580 Sports Talk.
Can we really quickly? I would like to offer a change to our winning name for What Is Wrong With You today.
Uh-huh.
An entry from Paul on the YouTube. Give me a tip or I empty the clip.
Oh, that's really good.
That's really good.
Yeah, shout out, Paul. Our commentariat will come up with better names than we're capable of.
Y'all are incredible at it. From the text line and the YouTube comments, I swear, I very rarely come up with a good name for these. Y'all always have the good ones.
Well done, Paul. That'll be
awesome.
The name. I'll change it in the rundown right now. Give me a tip or I empty the clip. That's pretty. What did you say? You brought a Ruger?
Yeah. I was informed. I did not know this. I thought Rugers were like only collector's items because I'd heard of them being item or, guns that were used during, like World War II.
Mhm.
I only knew of them as collector's items. Vance on YouTube has informed me that they're actually quite popular right now.
Huh.
I do not own one myself, so this was news to me. But you learn something new every day.
I missed the detail that the DoorDash guy who brought the gun, he was disarmed.
Yes,
by the person's father.
The adult at the house took it away.
Man, so you lost your job, you got your gun took, and you didn't get a tip. That's tough.
That's kind of emasculating, right?
Yeah,
you
man.
You gotta
start all over. Like at that point, you gotta reevaluate where you're at and just kind of start all over. We are counting down the days until the Kansas City Chiefs open their 2025 season. It's Friday night, September 6th, in Brazil against the Los Angeles Chargers. It is 88 days until the Chiefs kick off the 2025 campaign, and the new number 88 for the Chiefs is Jake Briningstool, who's been one of the big stories of OTAs for the Chiefs, really impressing out of his tight end position. The former Clemson Tiger was an undrafted free agent, and the Chiefs gave him a 3-year deal. And I know, like, years are imaginary when it comes to contracts. But they gave him, as a UDFA, 3 years, close to $3 million, a $30,000 signing bonus, and $264,000 guaranteed. That is not something you give just any UDFA that you're hoping to come in and be a tryout player, or even somebody that you're, not really concerned with whether or not they end up on your practice squad. That's not a we're open to being surprised kind of offer. That is a we really like this player and we think he can make our 53-man roster. Jared Wiley, who was drafted by the Chiefs last year out of TCU, he got hurt, and his injury is probably going to cause him to miss, it sounds like, the start of 2025. So he's not going to be a factor on the opening day 53-man roster, if you will. That leaves Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, and then kind of a question mark at tight end number 3. Robert Tunyon's in camp. As our leading Robert Tonyan correspondent, Brendan, you have informed us that he's pretty cooked.
I would be shocked if he ended up making the roster. I mean, by the time he was done with Green Bay, his body just had kind of given out on him. He had some knee injuries. I would be stunned, like truly, truly stunned if he ended up making the roster. Real quick, I wanted to offer a point of reference here. I was trying to think of notable Chiefs undrafted free agents in recent memory. So when the Chiefs signed Deneric Prince as a UDFA a couple years ago, he got $35,000 less guaranteed, for like several $100,000 less in base salary, and had half as much as his signing bonus. And at the time, we were firmly believing he was going to make the team at least as a kick returner. And they gave Briningstool like twice as much money, about 33% more money overall than they gave Prince at the time, which even adjusted for NFL inflation, considerable. Almost $1 million a year for a UDFA is a big deal.
Yeah. And the expectation with that kind of money is that you're going to compete to be in the 53-man roster. Lance Zierlein of NFL.com projected that Briningstool would have been drafted on day 3. He projected him as a day 3 pick. This is what he wrote in his draft prospect overview. What Briningstool lacks in mass, he measured at 6'6", 241. He makes up for with toughness in both phases. He's a possession-based tight end who majors in zone beaters, but will struggle to separate against man coverage. Oh, he sounds like every Chiefs pass catcher in that regard.
Yeah, no kidding.
He operates in space with good body control and strong hands at the catch point, does an adequate job of keeping defenders on his hip. Despite a high pad level, he can help as a run blocker, both connected to the line and in space. He's not a true Y or F tight end, but is capable enough in all areas to become a factor in 2 tight end sets. I think he's probably going to make the team. I don't know how much production or anything like that. Like, that's for another day. But I do wonder, and this is the time where you start to, it was the question we maybe thought the Chiefs were going to have to answer this year until Travis Kelce said he was coming back. What is the role of the tight end in the Chiefs offense when Travis Kelce is not out there? Now, obviously the role changes because the tight end doesn't get the most targets on the team. And the role changes in the sense that, Kelce's always been that motion guy in the pre-snap process where he'll come, even if it's not right across the line, even if he just comes down the line a little bit. That allows Patrick Mahomes to see, okay, are they covering him man or are they in the zone? And then everything else unfolds from how they react to Travis Kelce in motion. Whoever is the next Chiefs tight end for the next handful of years after Travis Kelce's playing days are over, they're not going to command that kind of respect offensively. So somebody else is going to be that skeleton key sort of receiver, the pre-snap motion guy, the reliable third down option. Travis Kelce's been so many things and an above average blocker in his career.
Under a severely underrated blocker.
So I guess the question is, what kind of player at tight end are the Chiefs looking for? And is Briningstool's skill set, which kind of sounds similar in some ways to Kelce's as far as the routes he's most comfortable running, at least late stage Kelce, where he can find the soft spots in the zone, but he's not going to beat anybody man to man. Is that still going to kind of be the template? Is that the tight end is used to exploit space rather than being the one-on-one matchup problem that Kelce was at his best?
So I'm going through right now some old Eagles rosters from Andy Reid's time in Philadelphia. I started with the 2004 team that played in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, and I'm just advancing through team history. And Brent Selleck came on in the late aughts. Remember Brent Selleck? A pretty useful player at the time.
Yeah.
Years from him, really like 1 year when he had 970 yards in, 2009. They really did not use the tight end all that much and not to a whole lot of great effect either. Selleck went over 800 yards a couple of times, but it wasn't a huge part of that team. They had LJ Smith starting at tight end for years. Not a notable player in his career. He was just a guy. I'm wondering if this is kind of a Kelce's a unicorn kind of situation, which he is in a lot of ways anyway, but based on Andy Reid's past, and if you say, well, that was a long time ago, he was like running a 2006 playbook with the Chiefs this year. Like, we went to old school West Coast Andy Reid for a lot of the offense this past season. I think he would love to get back to some of that. You don't use Travis Kelce like that because you're talking about a surefire first ballot, no doubt Hall of Famer. If you don't have that guy anymore, I wonder if we're going to go back to the tight end being a role player as opposed to a focal point. And not that would be surprising. Again, there aren't a lot of Travis Kelce's out there, have been very few in NFL history, arguably none other than him in NFL history. So I just would not be surprised if that becomes more of a role player. But given what we've seen Kelce can do, if Worthy continues to improve, Rice is a true number one like you believe he can be, that doesn't have to just be, LJ Smith's a big body who catches 8-yard button hooks. Like, that can be more than that, kind of a hybrid of the two kinds of tight ends that Reid has used. I just don't think it's going to be a focal point anymore once Kelce does hang it up, as we all assume after this season.
We'll take a timeout, come back, and wrap up this 4 o'clock hour. 580 Sports Talk next. Really quick callback to what we were talking about top of the segment, top of the hour, rather, about Salvador Perez. Older player, 35 years old. They say those guys warm up with the weather. You know, Salvador Perez hitting in night games this year? 34 night games for the Royals. Salvador Perez is hitting 152 with a 397 OPS at night. During the day, in 28 games, Salvy's hitting 319 with an 884 OPS. All 5 of his home runs have been in day games.
Play the day games. All day baseball. That's all we want. Day baseball.
I need some humidity. I need some 70-degree nights in Kansas City very soon. And you know who else does? The captain.
Can they just go to Chicago for a weekend series?
Yeah, just play the Cubs. They do. They do go to Chicago this year.
But is it on a weekend?
I believe it is.
Because if it's a weekend, they'll be playing at 2:00 on Friday, right?
That's typically how it works, 1:20 Central Time. Anyway, just more evidence that Salvador Perez needs some warm weather to get his bat warmed up. We got headlines. We'll talk about the Chiefs' biggest offseason loss and look ahead to a big month for the Royals next on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Great to be with you. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and live on video on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook, WIBW News. Gang's all here. Dan Lucero, Brendan Brzezinski, Spencer Dupuis. One more hour with you today on a Royals off day. No baseball tonight. Royals and Yankees open a 3-game set at the K tomorrow. Appreciate you being with us. If you go to our website right now, 580WIBW.com, you can find our YouTube stream. It's smack in the middle of the page. You can also, though, enter the Pick Your Ticket contest. Enter to win 2 tickets and airfare to any Major League sports game. That's right. You want to see the Giants in football? We'll fly you to MetLife Stadium. You want to see the Giants in baseball? We'll fly you to San Francisco, you and a friend. You want to see Jets? Well, you have to wait for the Winnipeg Jets to come to the continental U.S., but you could also see the New York Jets. You want to see Rangers? We can send you to New York or Texas.
So many options.
You've got options galore. Racing's a part of it, too. You want to go see Daytona? Indy? Racing's a part of it, too. 2 tickets to any Major League sports game. You and a friend will fly you there in the continental United States. And if you listen to our streaming audio at 580WIBW.com, you'll get a bonus keyword each day that you'll be able to enter that gives you more chances to win. That's the Pick Your Ticket contest. You'll find the link on our front page right now, 580WIBW.com. Feel like some of our listeners might have an interest in 2 tickets to a sporting event.
Oh, heck yeah.
I am.
Yeah, this is one I'd love to win. That's for sure.
Yeah, I wish we could win that.
I like to win all of them. You know, you get free money, trip anywhere you want to go. Like, I'd love to win all that stuff. And then they play the disclaimers and fun's over.
We are not allowed to win.
We
No,
are.
there you go.
We are not.
No, we are not. But you are. You out there listening. So go on and enter 580WIBW.com. Still to come this hour, an interesting Royals stat regarding their strength of schedule with relative term, but so far for the Royals, and a look ahead to what is really going to be a fascinating stretch starting tomorrow, really all the way through the All-Star break. Some big tests, some big series coming up for Kansas City. We'll also talk about the biggest offseason loss for the Chiefs. Is it an obvious answer to that question? Jared Dubin of NFL.com seemed to believe so, but I might play a little devil's advocate. We'll talk about that later on this hour as well. But we've also got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. There's a lot going on in the world of sports from the weekend, so let's jump on in and begin with those headlines. Begin with something of a Friday news dump. Would have been nice to get while we were on the air on Friday. We could have talked about this. But in case you missed it, the House settlement has been approved. Judge Claudia Wilkin late Friday approving the deal between the NCAA, its most powerful conferences, and lawyers representing all Division I athletes. The settlement ends 3 separate federal antitrust lawsuits and allows schools to begin paying their athletes directly. The revenue-sharing era has officially come to college sports. While college sports leaders, writes Dan Murphy of ESPN, have been making tentative plans for a major shift in how they do business, the tight turnaround time from now until July 1st, when the settlement goes into essentially effect, means schools and conferences will have to hustle to establish the infrastructure
My fault.
needed to enforce their new rules. The NCAA will pay, as part of the settlement, nearly $2.8 billion in back damages over the next 10 years to athletes who competed in college at any time from 2016 through the present day. Moving forward, each school can pay its athletes up to a certain limit. The annual salary cap is expected to start at roughly $20.5 million per school and increase every year during the decade-long deal. These new payments are in addition to, not in replacement of, scholarships and other benefits the athletes already receive. So, the House settlement is in place, and for any complaints that coaches athletic directors, athletic departments might have about the tight turnaround time and having to figure out how revenue sharing is going to work and having to figure out what it means for their athletic department and having to figure out how to make sure non-revenue sports are still taken care of and valued and prioritized in some schools, and whether or not it's feasible to have as big an athletic department or compete at the Division I level. All of these things that these athletic directors now have to do to earn their salaries, the NCAA as a whole has nobody to blame for anything that happens from here but themselves. For the years and the years and the years of insisting that amateurism meant that the players were not able to get a cut of what were becoming increasing revenues that went from the millions into the tens and hundreds of millions and then ultimately up to the billions. It really all goes back to the O'Bannon case, which was Ed O'Bannon, the former UCLA basketball player. There were other athletes who were involved in this. Sam Keller, I think, was one, played quarterback at Nebraska, suing for a share of revenue from Electronic Arts, the makers of college sports video games, for using the images, the likenesses of college athletes, past and present, because everybody knew when you played with like classic team, 1994 UCLA, who PF number 31 was. That was Ed O'Bannon. Everybody knew when you were playing with Nebraska, when Sam Keller was the quarterback, that you were playing with Sam Keller. The jersey number was right. The skin color was right. The hair was right. It was Sam Keller, except it wasn't. It was QB7 or whatever number he was. And back when that happened, O'Bannon, like the plaintiffs in that lawsuit didn't want the video game to go away. And Electronic Arts was happy to pay the players, was happy to, because those games sold like crazy, right? They made a lot of money off of those games. They still make money. They brought college football back and made a ton of money off that game.
They just announced they're going to be paying schools money for the amount you play as a school.
So there's lots of revenue for these video games, and Electronic Arts was happy to pay it, happy to give those kids their money. And the NCAA kept saying, no, they're amateurs. We can't pay them. We can't do it. It blows up college sports. It blows up the amateurism model, the model by which we have done business for all these years. We can't allow it. We can't allow it. And the NCAA dug in their heels, and they are dragged, kicking and screaming into this future. This is necessary because the NCAA at no point, at any point, let me rephrase, at any point, the NCAA could have decided, yeah, we are making money hand over fist. We got to share this with the work. We got to share this with the kids who are making these revenues possible. And they never wanted to do it. And it was, frankly, there was no moral argument for keeping the money away from the kids. And now the schools are going to pay their kids. And it's going to be especially funny for the NCAA to turn around and beg the United States government to codify into law some rules that say that actually they're not employees. We're giving them money out of our own pockets, but these athletes, they're not employees. They're not going to be classified as employees. It's going to be very funny to hear them do flips and twists to try and justify that. But here we are. We have arrived at this, and the NCAA has no way to blame for it but themselves. That is my commentary on the subject.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty obvious. I mean, I'm not trying to take away from your point by any means. Like, this all could have easily been avoided decades ago, but they didn't want to. It was, the golden goose kept laying eggs, and they wanted to ride that as much as possible. And now everybody's upset. Everybody. And nobody is happy about where everything is because you can't follow who's on each team, and you can't, and everybody, it's all about the money, and you're getting recruited somewhere all because it's about money. And that's been the case the entire history of college football, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah. So like that is why we are where we are. And I have no problem with the guys getting paid and getting revenue share or whatever like that. The sport is making billions. They deserve a cut of that. They're the ones who are playing football. So I have no problem with any of that. But the fact that it has been a mess to get here. The other thing that should be noted, because everybody who covers specifically college football, but college sports in general, has posted this, shared it, written about it, etc. This is not even close to done because the settlement, the writing of the settlement opens it up to being taken back to court over pretty much any part of the settlement. So we're not even close to done with this being in the news. But it is a step. Matt Brown of Extra Points even put it this way. This is not the end. This is a step. So that is what we are talking about here. It gets us closer to a finality, but I don't think we're ever going to get to finality, to be completely honest with you.
There's this bit from the article. Many sources in the college sports industry, again, this is Dan Murphy of ESPN writing, have doubts about whether the limit on booster spending aimed at protecting competitive balance will be effective in slowing the rapid increase in money flowing to athletes at the NCAA's richest schools. Some believe the rule will spur new lawsuits. Protecting competitive balance. Do you mean to tell me that in this new world of college sports, the best basketball recruits are going to go to Duke and the best football recruits are going to go to Alabama, and Florida State, and Texas, like they have for the entire history of the sport?
Right. That's what it comes down to. Like it has always been.
I
this
hate
way.
when people make that argument. Like people, I know somebody they follow Colorado State athletics, and they say it's unfair. It's not a level playing field. It never was a level playing field. You're not on the same tier, and you shouldn't be. Like, if you're not willing, if you don't have the funds to go and have the hire the coaches and have the infrastructure and get the players, then you're not on the same playing field as Alabama for football or Duke for basketball. You're not. Even a school like Kansas, you get outbid by Duke. That's how it goes. Get your weight up, not your hate up. Sometimes you don't have the funds, you don't have the resources to compete with somebody else's funds and someone else's resources. Sometimes just get outbid. Sometimes you make a bid and somebody else makes a higher bid. And this is the thing I try to explain to people who because we hear from people who do not like the idea, who are still even a handful of years into what we refer to shorthand as the NIL era, are opposed to the idea of college athletes being paid anything. And what I explain to them is this, the way I try to explain it to them. College athletes then are the only class of college student who cannot make a buck on their own work. If you are a gifted guitarist and you are going to college, you can put out an album and you can sell that album and you can make money. If you are a gifted artist and you make a beautiful painting, you can sell that painting and you can make money. If you are a gifted writer, you can publish your poems or publish a memoir or a fiction book and you can get it published and you can sell it and you can make money, and it can all have your name and your face on the cover of your CD or your book. Any other class of student in college, 18 to 22-year-old, can do this. The college athlete, if you are a brilliant quarterback, if you are a brilliant point guard, if you are a brilliant third baseman, your work, you cannot capitalize. You cannot make money for your work. You cannot make money for the thing that you do, the skill you have that puts you at the top 1% of students or people of that age who have that skill. Explain to me why it's fair. And nobody can explain to me. Nobody has ever been able to satisfactorily explain to me why it is fair that the poet or the guitarist or the chemist or the research student can profit off of their work and their skill, and the quarterback and the punter and the center and the setter and the first baseman can't. There's no good excuse. There's no excuse that washes.
Well, here's the excuse, because you don't get to feel better than someone else. Seriously, like, I'm going to give you two random schools here, okay? I'm going to give you the Iowa schools, okay? I'm going to give you the example of Iowa schools. I am not going to wander into the bog of using KU and K-State as an example for this.
Sure.
I'm going to use Iowa State and Iowa, for example. If you're Iowa State, so you're the land grant school, well, so is Iowa, but you're the ag school, right? You're the counted out school, and Iowa's the big bad Big Ten school, right? Before this, you're going after the same recruit. You're going after the same offensive lineman from Dubuque. You're both trying to recruit him. And he ends up at Iowa instead of Iowa State, even though Iowa State maybe had a better playing time situation or better coaches or whatever, but he ended up at Iowa. If you're an Iowa State fan, and again, I'm using a hypothetical example here, oh, they're dirty. They did that the wrong way. They did that the wrong way. He got money. He got $100 handshake at the Made Right. You know what?
Shout out to the Made Right.
Get the loose meat sandwich. We might lose in the Cy-Hawk game week 2, but you know what? We did it the right way. We didn't roster. We did it the right way. You have moral superiority. Now, everybody can do it. You don't have that. Everybody loves to feel better than everybody else. I'm not going to dive into some other thoughts about that particular point, but as a fan of a team, you like to feel, and again, if you want to do the KU and K-State example, if you're a fan of either team, you have felt like the other school is bad for one reason or another because they're too brash or they play dirty or they cheat or they spend money or whatever. You don't have that anymore as a fan.
Now it's all above board. It's all over the table, right?
I'll use myself as an example. Duke paid Zion Williamson so much money to go to Duke.
Yes.
You know how I know? Because KU was prepared to pay him so much money, and he picked somewhere else.
Yes.
Obviously. And at the time, Duke, cheating, got that Nike money. They're stuffing the shoebox full of cash. Well, now it's just, they got more money. They got more donors, or the businesses that support them have more,
we got outbid
or whoever. Why can't I feel good about myself now?
Andrew makes a good point in the YouTube comments as well regarding the argument for athletes being able to make some money, let alone athletes don't have time to get a job to pay for school like other students do. They have training, film, and practice to do what? Make money for the school. It is a job. If you do not think being an athlete in college is a job, go live the life for a day and tell me that ain't work.
No, it's crazy.
Go live the life for a day and tell me those kids aren't working.
Yeah,
it's not a job, and that people aren't paying to see the fruits of their labor. Look, I know, be true to your school, and there are great things that you see no matter who's on the field. If you go to a college football game, the pageantry, the fight song, the traditions, the tailgating, and all those things. But at the end of the day, man, the program, the product is what it is because of the players. At the end of the day, the sports we watch, they are what they are because of the players. It's not the coaches. It's not the fight song. It's not the logo. It's not the $70 million renovations to the club level at the stadium. That's what brings us back. Those are the reason that we watch, and the reason that we watch is why it is $1 billion industry now.
Yeah. No, and again, personally, I have no problem with it. Hey, you're making all that money for someone else. If we found, if ESPN picked us up and suddenly we were gonna follow McAfee every day on we're the replacement for Around the Horn, right? So we're gonna lead into PTI every day, and we found that out. And the big boss is like, oh yeah, but you guys are still gonna make what you're making now, even though you're gonna be in 1 billion households. I'd say, wait a minute, what?
That's not right.
What do you mean? So no, I get it. Again, we're going to have so many lawsuits about this.
Yes.
It is not going to end anytime soon.
It's a developing situation. Let's get to another headline, Brendan.
Yeah, let's go to the NFL here. Some news and notes from the weekend and today. A lot going on around the NFL. Many of these we've touched on already. But Nick Chubb, he has found a new team. The former Browns running back, he has signed with the Houston Texans. 1 year, $2.5 million deal, according to Ian Rappaport. I believe there are also some incentives that are baked in there, as there are for most veteran deals. So Houston's running back room at this point now, Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce, they drafted Woody Marks. They traded up, in fact, to get Woody Marks in the draft this year. Nick Chubb, by all accounts, is a great dude, awesome locker room guy. At one point, had an argument for being one of the 3 or 4 best running backs in football. I'm kind of with Matt Verderam. I think he might be toast. We talked to Matt about this a little bit earlier on. I wish him the best, though, because, again, seems like a really great dude. So he has found a new team. A couple of big-name players, though, are now free agents. That includes Green Bay Packers cornerback Jair Alexander, long-running saga this offseason. He has only played 31 of the last 51 possible games for Green Bay. He's been injured a lot, has only played 7 games each of the last 2 seasons. He has a huge contract. Green Bay didn't want to pay it for a guy they can't trust is going to be on the field. Alexander wants to make a bunch of money. They tried to trade him, no dice. Then they thought, well, what if we offer him a restructured contract? They talked it out, no dice. He didn't want to take the big pay cut, so the Packers ended up releasing him today. I think a contender is going to sign him, honestly. If you're a team that already has decent depth, I think it's worth taking a shot. Buffalo doesn't have any cap space, but if they made some moves, restructured a couple contracts to make it happen, I would try it. I would absolutely try it if I was them. He is also tight with Lamar Jackson. They are boys. I would not be shocked to see Baltimore take a flyer because they do need depth at corner. He can start. He's still really good. I promise you.
And
he's just always hurt.
And yeah, you need depth for him because he's only going to play like 9 games.
Exactly. No, you're spot on with that. Also, a release today. Jermaine Pratt, the linebacker from the Cincinnati Bengals, has had a good career. He's a good player. Did not have a good season this past year. I talked to Matt about this earlier, and we had him on the line. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. Like, who knows if Trey Hendrickson's ever going to play with them again. They've jerked him around like crazy. They're cutting Jermaine Pratt, who, again, bad year, but has been a good player for them. They still got Logan Wilson. That's kind of it in terms of like impact defensive players. I sort of feel like they're punting on the defense this year, but I also don't really hate the idea. Like, I would have rather traded Pratt if I was them and get, a 6th round pick or even a 7th round pick for him. Like, you sucked with these guys.
Right.
Like, you might as well save some cap space and try to completely rebuild from the ground up. So I don't hate it. I don't see a way that they're not a bottom 5 defense in the league again. Like, you need guys, and right now they don't have any because Hendrickson's not reporting.
Well, we will simply score 35 points a game.
And lose by 14 because that's how bad this is going to be.
Yeah.
Like, maybe Al Golden is going to be a better NFL coach than college coach. He's a good college defensive coordinator, but I don't know. Also, a Chiefs note, a former Chief anyway, wide receiver Chris Conley, who won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs, Super Bowl 54, before bouncing around the league the last few years. 10 years in the league. He is retiring and is heading back to college. He is going to go to film school at his where he played college ball, the University of Georgia, UGA. Congratulations to him. Have you ever seen, either of you, his student film from when he was at Georgia?
I have no, but I feel like based on what I saw, you say something, I want to see it.
Yes, I have actually. I watched it when he was with the Chiefs when I found out about it a couple years ago. It's a Star Wars fan film, but he filmed it, I believe, with some of his teammates and other film school kids at Georgia on campus in Athens. And to be honest with you, it's not bad. Like, for a student film, actually, pretty good. It was an entertaining half-hour watch. So good for him. That's a really cool thing to want to go do.
He left Kansas City before things really got fun and they started winning Super Bowls. But a 10-year NFL career, 226 career receptions, 15 career touchdowns.
He caught Mahomes' first touchdown at Arrowhead.
Yes, he did. Made some good money in the
Still,
process.
to me, the best Mahomes touchdown throw.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
It was awesome. Anyway, yeah, neat career and a neat guy. He's always been, you could tell there's always more going on with him than just football, and now he gets to pursue that. Very cool. All the best to Chris Conley. Give us a quick as the stadium turns headline note here, Spencer.
Just let me find that. That was not what I was prepared to do.
Yeah, we got some news on the Arrowhead and Kauffman Stadium futures here.
Yes, Missouri Senators on Thursday approved a plan to provide over $100 million in money to St. Louis for the tornado-ravaged area and authorized hundreds of millions of dollars worth of incentives to try to persuade Kansas City Chiefs and Royals to continue playing in the state of Missouri in a new or improved stadium. Lawmakers are acting with urgency. They had a special session, I believe, at like 2 a.m. is when that, in fact, happened, that they actually agreed upon it. There's an end of June deadline from Kansas for the Star Bonds that we talked about last year. That's June 30th. But yes, the Kansas and Missouri are in on this Chiefs Royal stadiums.
I was thinking about this. It's a really good thing, I think, that Kansas has that deadline for the end of the month. You got to put pressure on it and make a decision. Because you can't just say, oh, yeah, you get whatever offers you can, because then they'll never leave. You have absolutely no chance if you're fighting to get these teams if you're the state of Kansas.
Yeah, the Senate, it had stalled earlier in the Missouri Senate, and part of how it got through was got attached to tornado relief.
Yeah,
that's how it works. And there's also some other building projects around the state that were part of the bill. Property tax breaks for some homeowners facing rising tax bills, things like that. Other things that are popular. But again, I think it comes back to what we discussed when all of this started happening and rumblings started happening about where the new Chiefs Stadium might be. Missouri lost one NFL team. They're not losing another one.
You cannot, if you are, a member of the General Assembly in Missouri, you cannot be the person who caused the Chiefs to leave. You or the Royals, for that matter. Like, you cannot be that person. So
Yeah.
I think they're going to end up staying in Missouri.
I think it is just that simple from that perspective. Now, the Royals, could I see it happen on either side of the border? I actually could, but I do not think the Chiefs are leaving Missouri. I think that Missouri, the Missouri politicians will walk through hell in a gasoline suit if they've got to make sure they don't lose a second NFL team, really a third if you go back to the St. Louis Cardinals. Anyway, as we continue our 580 Sports Talk headlines, a quick trip through the winner's circle. Big winners from the weekend. The French Open tennis tournaments concluded. Coco Gauff, your women's winner, her second major championship. Carlos Alcaraz wins the men's final, a 5-setter for the ages against Yannick Sinner. Tennis appears to have its new Federer-Nadal or Federer-Djokovic rivalry. Those two are going to be playing each other in major finals for a very long time. And if they're all that good, they're going to be must-see TV. You mentioned it earlier. Sovereignty wins the rubber match, essentially, and takes the Belmont Stakes, defeating Journalism in what our Andy Weingarten did tell us was going to be a 2-horse race. In the end, it was really a 1-horse race. Sovereignty pulled away at the end for the win in the Belmont. In the PGA Tour, Ryan Fox takes the RBC Canadian Open in a playoff. On the NASCAR Cup Series, Denny Hamlin into the winner's circle for the third time this season, winning at Michigan. Also, 7 College World Series spots are spoken for. These following 7 teams are going to the NCAA tournament. 5 national seeds. Number 3, Arkansas. Number 6, LSU. Number 8, Oregon State. Number 13, Coastal Carolina. And number 15, UCLA. Louisville and Arizona also through. Arizona upsetting number 5 seed, North Carolina. Duke and Murray State play tonight to decide the final ticket to Omaha. If you're keeping track, that's 1 ACC team, 1 Big 12 team, 1 Sun Belt team, 1 Big 10 team, 2 SEC teams, an independent. Oregon State plays independently this year. And either an ACC team or what league is Murray State in? Ohio Valley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, an Ohio Valley team.
Actually.
Or did they move?
They are in the
Missouri Valley now?
They're in the Missouri Valley now. They moved.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I knew it was a valley. I just forgot which one. Anyhow, that's a trip to the winner's circle. Real quick, we'll wrap up our headlines with a playoff roundup. If you'll hit me with that theme, Spencer, we'll get a playoff roundup in real quick.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
The NBA Finals are even at a game apiece. Oklahoma City Thunder defeating the Indiana Pacers last night, 123-107. A game that more people were talking about ESPN projecting images of the Larry O'Brien trophy onto the court during the game than they were talking about the actual game, which, again, doesn't speak well for these NBA Finals.
No.
Also, the projected trophies look janky. I know
they look terrible.
I know, I have given people a hard time about the nostalgia factor with NBA fans and just everybody wanting it to be 1996 again when it comes to the NBA. And just actually, what everybody really wants is Michael Jordan to be back. What everybody really wants is to feel like kids and see Michael Jordan do stuff. But they are right about the finals should feel like an event, and they don't, based on what's around the venue, and even something as small as having an NBA Finals decal on the court makes it feel more like an event. And the NBA couldn't even be bothered with that, and that's not a great look for anybody. The Stanley Cup Final switches tonight to Florida for Game 3 of that series. Panthers and Oilers are tied at 1. Both games have gone overtime. The Panthers won a double OT thriller in Game 2 on Saturday night. That's the playoff roundup. We'll take a break, come back, talk a little more football when we return on 580 Sports Talk. 5:37 on 580 Sports Talk. Winding things down here in hour number 3. Thanks for being with us. Text line is open, 785-272-9429. You can also interact in the YouTube chat. Watch us on YouTube daily. 4 out of 5 doctors recommend it. YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk.
Sometimes I come up with things that I think are really funny in my head, but I know will get me either just reviled by our listenership or just directly pulled off the air by the powers that be.
Man, I'm about to give you the full reins for the next 4 days, so please err on the side of caution.
You are never going to believe what I'm going to get into this week.
Hey, I won't be around
He's
to
going
hear
to
it
get into
either way.
Canadian football.
Buddy.
I already know that. Like I take that for granted. Brendan takes the steering wheel, and
he should have opened the show with Canadian football.
He might.
Don't tempt me.
He might.
I won't be here.
Don't put it against him.
Riders won their opener.
Yes, they did.
Shout out to the melon heads. I need one of those. I've got a cheese head. I need a melon head.
Do you actually have another cheesehead, or is that one that's in the office?
Yeah, it's the one in the office. Yeah. It was originally Brits. It's also a youth size, so it doesn't actually fit my head. It falls right off, but he did give it.
Where it kind of cockeyed tilted like Fernando Rodney.
Yeah.
Like how Fernando Rodney would wear a cheese head. In American football, Jared Dubin, NFL.com, writing about the biggest offseason loss for each NFL team, a player that each team will miss the most. And Dubin picked out Joe Thuney as the correct answer for the Chiefs. This is what Dubin wrote. Thuney remains one of the best offensive linemen in the league, but the Chiefs decided to move on so they could clear out the room to keep the younger Trey Smith on the opposite side of the line. Kansas City will move Kingsley Suamataia inside to guard or else go back to Mike Caliendo at that spot. But either way, it will mean an entirely new left side of the offensive line with Jalen Moore or Josh Simmons at left tackle, and that's a big deal in front of the best quarterback in football. I don't disagree with anything that Dubin says there. The Chiefs are gambling, but they've got a lot of bodies to throw at the problem this year, which has not been the case, I think, in recent years. The Chiefs can at least say if plan A doesn't work, we've got a much more workable plan B where the floor is higher than it has been, or certainly than it was last year. Like the floor at left tackle was so low that it required Joe Thuney to step in. And that was fine until it wasn't. Mike Caliendo, same deal. Floor for him is a little higher than I think your average backup left guard because he played capably until Joe Thuney started getting his head caved in at left tackle in the Super Bowl, and then that exposed Caliendo in return. Ceiling is higher with prospects with the athleticism of Suamataia and Josh Simmons, but the Chiefs have at least raised the floor and given themselves a number of different solutions to make something shake. They're not going to have to look down the bench at Wanye Morris this time. That's a positive. Joe Thuney is a big loss. There's no question about it. Thuney was voted the Chiefs' most valuable player, I think, by the last season. It's a big loss.
Mm-hmm.
My argument, though, is that the Chiefs may feel the loss of Turk Wharton as acutely or more in the sense that they will miss that level of pass rush production. Now, again, the Chiefs are throwing more bodies at the problem this year. They drafted Ashton Gillotte and Omar Norman-Lott.
Mm-hmm.
They signed Jerry Tillery. They
brought back Amenahu
and will hope to have him for a healthy full season, which they have never had in the 3 years he's been part of the team. So again, more bodies to throw at the problem. That is a good thing. But Turk Wharton last season was very impactful in a role that is extremely valuable, interior pass rush. And I like the potential. I like the idea of Omar Norman-Lott. I like the idea of Charles Amenahu maybe kicking more to the inside and being healthy for 17 games and available for 17 games. But that's what Wharton was last year. He was available and he was really productive. And it is difficult to say that the Chiefs are going to be able to replace that adequately, even if they have given themselves options by which to do so.
Yeah, oh man, on paper, I can see the argument for Turk Wharton. I could see an argument for Justin Reed. And Justin Reed might have been the smartest guy on the whole team. It's just everything he did was just right. Like, he wasn't the best athlete out there, so he's far from a perfect player, but just always in the right position. There's such a such a key cog of that defense. And now, I mean, you're putting some pressure on Jaden Hicks to be a starter in year 2. I think he can do it. I like his potential quite a bit. And more pressure on Brian Cook that he's got to be the guy in that safety room now. I'd go Tooney. Suamanaia has got to be good. That's kind of what this comes down to. They clearly believe in him as a guard because they thought about putting him in at guard during the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
It didn't end up mattering, so, I mean, who cares? But they clearly believe in his skill set there. Now, is that the right thing to do? I don't know. Time will tell. We haven't actually seen him do it aside from a few snaps in Week 18. So, in a game that was a complete waste of everybody's time. So, I'm probably going to lean with agreeing with Jared Dubin here and going with Joe Tooney. It's just so hard to replace an all-pro. And a guy who's been a multi-time all-pro in a row with a guy who is completely unproven. And if Suamanaia is good, well, then these fears are obviously not worth a damn. But if he's a subpar guard, like he was a subpar or worse tackle, suddenly the entire left side of the line is a big question mark because we don't know that Jalen Moore is good enough to start every week. The Chiefs think he is, and generally I will defer to them and Andy Heck and Andy Reid, guys who know offensive line better than anybody. But there are question marks there. So he's just hard to move on from an all-pro, even if he's getting a bit older.
Yeah.
That would probably be why I signed him here. There were not a ton of losses in the Chiefs class of free agents, though.
And
I was going up and down the list. I was going Reid and Tooney was a trade. Like, Cole Hardman?
Yeah.
That's it.
No, those are the three possible answers.
You throw his name up there because of what he has done. But, like, he's not really – yeah, he's not really, like, that much of an impact player.
Right. Like, there were just so few of those that the Chiefs ended up losing.
Yeah. We'll take another break here on 580 Sports Talk. Actually, wait a minute. Spencer, what do you think? I'm sorry. I forgot to ask you. Spencer, what was your opinion on the subject? Who do you think was the biggest off-season loss?
I mean, I think it's Joe Tooney. I mean, I agree with you for Devil's Advocate. I'll say Turk Warden. You need a middle, Chris Jones getting old, right? You need a middle guy in there that still has a little bit of all the tires to tread on there. A lot more tire tread that needs. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Still has a lot left
you need
to go in
someone
their career.
To supplement what Chris Jones is.
Yeah, I think that might be the biggest loss. I mean, obviously they have gaps they've filled with players, but will they be good players or will they turn out to be like Josh Uche, who we thought could have been a great guy to have and dude barely ever got on the field?
So, yeah, I guess your answer might depend on what are you more confident that can be replaced, left guard, like the left side of the offensive line or interior pass rush. Well, pretty important. Whatever you think is more important for the Chiefs, because again, they have made it happen with subpar offensive line play. They have. It would be nice if they could avoid having to do it that way. It would be nice if what's the old saying? Toughest battles. He must think basketball is the strongest soldier because he's got some tough battles with the offensive line play in front of him over the years in some big games. But I think that Tooney and are, I wouldn't say equally correct answers. I think Tooney is probably the right answer, but I think there's a case made for it. Now let's take that break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up with the Royals. Coming up on 580. 548 on 580 Sports Talk. This stat today, courtesy your pal and mine, Trenton Craxner, sent it along. The Royals have played the fourth fewest games amongst major league teams against teams who are currently, as of today, below 500. For the curious, the teams that entered today's play with records below 500 in the American League, the Red Sox, the Orioles, the White Sox, the Rangers, the Angels, and the A's. In the National League, Washington, Atlanta, Miami, Pittsburgh, Arizona, and Colorado. So 12 teams out of the 30 that are below 500. And there are some teams that are like right on the cusp, like the Royals are 2 games over. Cincinnati's right at 500. Royals obviously have already played them. But 19 games against teams that right now are below 500. Now, earlier they took 2 out of 3 from Baltimore, so 2-1. Swept Colorado, that's 5-1. 2 out of 3 from Baltimore, 7-2. 11-2 with that 4-game sweep of the White Sox earlier. Then they went 1-2 against Boston. That makes them 12-4. And losers of 2 out of 3 to the White Sox over the weekend. So they're 13-6 in those games against teams that are right now below 500. So that's taking care of your business. That's what you want to do. And that was the strength for the Royals last year, was they didn't play with their food when they played those teams below 500. But they haven't played a lot of those teams. They still have home and homes with Texas and the Angels and the A's lined up. They've still got 6 more with the White Sox. They've still got 3 more with Boston. They've still got those interleague series. Like they haven't played a lot of interleague yet. Really, hardly any interleague. I'm trying to think. The Cincinnati, they played St. Louis. Obviously, they're done with St. Louis. They played Milwaukee already and San Francisco. But they still got a bunch more interleague in Colorado. But they got a bunch more interleague to play, including all those teams from the East that aren't any good. So I think that's a reason, again, to look at the schedule and think, okay, the Royals are going to have some opportunities to play catch up with some of the teams that have taken a bit of a step above them because they haven't played as many teams below 500. You look at some of the teams like Seattle right now, they've played 33 games against teams below 500. Tampa Bay's played 30 against teams below 500. Toronto's been red hot. They played 29 games against teams below 500. So the Royals are going to catch up in that department.
One thing that is interesting to note, the final 6 games of the regular season for the Royals are against the Angels and A's. All on the road, but the final 6 games of the season are against 2 really bad teams.
And the homestand before that wraps up the season could be pivotal because those are 2 teams right now that are ahead of them in the standings, Seattle and Toronto. I mean, we'll see where things stand, obviously, when we come around to mid-September, but right now that's kind of a stretch that bears looking at.
And for what it's worth, other series in that month, the month of September, they have to go to the Phillies, who are pretty good, although struggling right now. They have 3 against the Twins and 4 against the Guardians, plus another 3 against the Angels. They play all their games against the Angels all in September, which is weird. But you've got divisional games, which could still matter at the time. And there are teams that are ahead of you in the standings right now for the wild card, so they obviously matter for that reason. Winnable games against the Angels, Mariners, Blue Jays, more against the Angels, and then the A's. That's a lot of potential wins. And like every game is a potential win, but realistic, plausible wins in the final month of the season. You got to stay close. You got to be like in a horse race or a stalker. You just can't get too far behind because you know you've got a good, strong kick in you. You've just got to get to the point where the kick still matters.
Royals keep maintaining their heads above water, haven't dipped to 500 or below, but for that to continue to be the case, they've got to win a home series against the Yankees. That starts tomorrow night. We'll do a full preview on that on tomorrow's show. For now, though, we'll take a break, and we'll return with a final word to wrap up this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. right, let's wrap up 580 Sports Talk for this Monday. Spencer Dupuis, why don't you go first with a final word?
Yeah, one of my favorite hockey players just announced his retirement, TJ Oshie. You might know him as the American hero, TJ Oshie. He had 4 shootout goals in Sochi to win the Olympics for America. If you remember that back in, I think it was it 16 or 15?
16.
16. He also won a Stanley Cup.
No, I'm wrong. 2018. It was 18.
Was it? I must have been. No, it was before their.
It was 18 or 14. 16 was the
14.
Summer
It
Olympics.
was 14.
14. Okay.
Yeah, it was 14. That was before he came to Washington. You might know him as a St. Louis Blue, where he spent the first 7 years of his career. He couldn't play anymore after last season because he had back problems. Enough so he had to use the bathroom laying down. Which,
Jeez.
yeah. So I'm glad he spent a year away from hockey, realized he couldn't play hockey, but he can still live a life with his children. So, yeah, one of my favorite players to watch in hockey, TJ Oshie, retired today.
Brendan Dworzynski, final word.
Yeah, that one win against the White Sox yesterday, it did a couple of things. One, saved you, the Royals fan, from probably having a complete freak out over getting swept by a really bad White Sox team. Also, something of a coming out party for Jac Caglianone, his first 4-hit game in the majors. He's going to be fine. He is going to be a stud for this team, probably for a long time. When you hit the ball that hard, you're going to find a lot of success. And now you can build on it, hopefully build a little momentum going into the Yankees series. You would feel no positivity had you been swept by the Pale Hose.
Final word for me, I'll keep it quick. Number one, to build on what Brendan said, Jac Caglianone is sure fun to watch hit the baseball. And eventually, as he continues to hit baseballs well over 100 miles an hour each time he makes contact, they're going to find green grass or they're going to find some lucky fans as souvenirs. And he does appear to be big league ready as far as making hard contact and recognizing pitches on which he can make hard contact. So it's been pretty cool to see what it's been. Even if the stat line doesn't jump out at you, the exit velocities sure do. Also, this is it for me for the week. I'm going on a little family vacation. Wish me luck. I got to get my 1-year-old on an airplane. We got a long travel day tomorrow, flying out to the East Coast. So fingers crossed, think good thoughts for your boy. And my wife and my son as we take a vacation. I'll talk to you next Monday. The guys will be back tomorrow from 3 until 6. For Brendan Dworzynski and Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero. This is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.